In a world drowning in noise, where truth is often buried beneath layers of propaganda and misinformation, there's a need for a different kind of a network of creators that cuts through the clutter, that doesn't shy away from tough topics, and that delivers the unfiltered truth. We are Trim Radio Network. We are creators, we are innovators, we are investigators. We're the ones who aren't afraid to call a spade a spade. If you're ready to participate in thought-provoking discussions, informational topics, and of course today's biggest headlines, subscribe to our YouTube channel today. We're Trim Radio Network. We're cutting the bull and serving the truth.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Now, from the northeast quadrant of the United States, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscala. Saturday nights from 9 p.m. Eastern until midnight on the Trim Radio Network. You can join the conversation in any of our chat rooms. And now, without further ado, your host, Riscala.
Hello and welcome, everyone. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. An honor and a privilege to have you join me tonight. Going to be going over... Did it again, didn't it? Stop that. I keep forgetting. If I refresh the page, it goes back to the default settings. The default settings is to play the intro repeatedly until I turn it off. Yeah. Anyway... Tonight, I'm going to be going over some more stuff that I found about the Charlie murder. There are people who believe that he's not dead, that it was a put on. I don't know. I can't find definitive evidence either way. It certainly looks like he was dead. He had blood coming out of him like somebody turned a hose on. And I don't mean to be callous. I'm just describing what I saw. But it's possible. I mean... We know that we've been lied to about. How many things have we been lied to about? So what's to say that we're being told the truth about what happened and what we saw? So I'm going to show you some videos tonight. Again, different angles, some more information that's come up. Question. I mean, isn't that what we should be doing? We should be questioning what is going on. Otherwise, we'll really never know the truth. It will never get out because these people continue to suppress it at every angle that they have. And something interesting I found out about, I didn't find out, something interesting I ran across about Donald Trump that I thought you might be interested in seeing. I got kind of a kick out of it, and I'll have Peter and Jerry on with me tonight. They'll be joining me shortly. Peter and I were having a conversation. He said, "Did you see Trump when he was over in Britain?" And I said, "Yes, I did." So those of you who are not Trump fans, you're not going to like what I'm going to show you. And just to let you know, I did vote for the man 3 times. But that doesn't mean my nose is up his crack or that I agree with everything he's doing. I very much disagree with this Gaza idea he's got. He wants to make Gaza a paradise. And as a matter of fact, I watched a video. I don't know how long ago this was, maybe several days ago, where he was making a statement, and Satan Yahoo is there next to him. And he says, we will be controlling Gaza. And the look on this guy's face, it was like, what? You're supposed to give it to me. You're not supposed to. So I don't know. I just don't like the idea of us being over there. Those poor people are being murdered, slaughtered. I mean, there's really no other words to describe what's happening. And now it's becoming more and more evident. I've been talking about it for many years. And to this day, if you say something bad about Israel, well, then automatically you're an anti-Semite. I got news for you. I can talk all I want because I probably got more Semite in me than the majority of them living over there. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. So yeah, I'll be showing you some videos tonight where I think I have suspicions that if he was really assassinated, that was probably, again, this is my opinion, for entertainment purposes only. It could have been the Mossad, because he began to speak out about Israel. He began to ask questions. I think I have that video uploaded where he's doing a podcast with PDB. I can't remember the guy's name, Peter something or another, maybe. And he says, I have to be careful how I say this, I think is the words they use. I have to be careful how I say this, something along that line. And then later on in the conversation, 30, 40, 50 seconds down the conversation, he says, I was in Israel, and I traveled from Gaza to, I traveled from Jerusalem to Gaza, and it took 45 minutes. And then he says, hours, 2 hours, or for whatever, how many hours it was. He says, was there a stand down order? And not only asked it once, he asked it twice. So I'm pretty sure I've got that. So I'll play that for you in a little while. Some of the stuff I ran across, do you think that Charlie could have been at some point maybe the president of the United States? This man was extremely intelligent for somebody who never went to college. I mean, I think he went to college for a semester or something. He said, forget this garbage. Forget that. Flush this. And he went on, just to basically educate himself. And what a job he did. Phenomenal. He could sit down and talk with people, and they would come up with the craziest, ideas or stories, but he would come back with a rational, a tactical, rational idea, an answer. And much of it was biblically based. So he was very much familiar with, I would say he was, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the right word, but he's very, very educated in the Bible. I mean, he would talk to people, and if something spiritual would come up, he would give the verse and he would say what it was. And, anyway, yeah, so he began to question, and he's not the only one. We have Candace is questioning Israel, and Candace was a staunch reporter. Charlie was a staunch reporter up until just recently. I say recently, probably within the last 6 months to a year or so. The Young Turks, I don't remember the young lady's name on the Young Turks, questioning what's going on. More and more people are coming to the conclusion that what Israel is doing, not only non-humanitarian, it is illegal. It's genocide. It's open genocide to the world, but they're claiming that they're protecting themselves. They're protecting themselves from a place that doesn't have an air force, it doesn't have an army. They're saying that Hamas is living among the civilians. That's why we're bombing the civilians, and totally destroyed Gaza. Netanyahu, Satan Yahoo, I like to refer to him as, has openly claimed that they're going to go back to biblical borders. Well, biblical borders would be part of Jordan, part of Egypt, part of Lebanon, part of Lebanon too, I believe. So he wants to take over part of these countries, and you think that these countries, oh, here you go, buddy. Yeah, it's all yours. Don't think so. I think it's going to be a problem. And if you look at, I used to have a map that I guess I took it down. I had a map that from when the time that it was formed as Israel to the time it is today, and it has exponentially grown. The people that were there before them were Palestinians. It was called Palestine. You can look it up in any book that is, if you look it up recently, they'll say, no, there was never no Palestine. This is the way they lie to us. I'm old enough to remember because it was Palestine. It was called Palestine, okay? I mean, when I say I'm old enough, I'm old enough to remember seeing it. Like we had the encyclopedia. And it was drawn out as partly Palestine and the New Israel is what they called it, the New Israel back then. And it went from a fraction of what was the country into just about completely covering the whole country. And in the process of doing that, they murdered many, many people. I would say in the hundreds of thousands of people, many of them children. So people are waking up to these people, and it's not. And I don't want to say it's the Jews themselves. Some of them are. Some of them hate the Palestinians, but it's the government. You think our government's bad? Holy smokes, man! Our government took, tips from them. It's just it's a bad situation over there, and it's far beyond time that people recognize it, and the world comes together and says, "No more. We're not doing this anymore. This is not right. It's not human." That whatever happened between the Nazis and the Germans, the Nazis and the Jews during the wars in Germany, the Jews are now doing to the Palestinians times 100. Times 100. There's no excuse for it other than the people who are running the country are evil. Just like the people in our country are evil. We have people in our government are evil, just evil. They protect the pedophiles. They commit all kinds of crimes, and nobody wants to touch them because everybody has something on everybody else. So they get away with all kinds of stuff. I've always said we need a complete cleaning out of our government. Totally. Just wipe them clean and start over with some new people with some morals, people that would reflect upon Charlie and say, you know what, that was an American. Now, what he was propagating was the American dream. Get married, have a family, on and on. And it used to be when I was growing up, that was the American dream, that you do get married, that you do have a family, that you provide for your family, that you protect your family. It doesn't seem to be that way anymore. The default now is get married, and if you don't like each other in a couple of months, a year or 2 or 3 or whatever, get divorced, have an abortion. Everything to break up the nucleus of the family. Everything that they can do to break the nucleus of the family, this is what they're doing. And sadly, they've gotten quite proficient at it, particularly with people of dark skin. Their families are continuously being broken up, and it's all through this indoctrination. And sadly, many of the men don't even realize that this has been done to them. All right, let's see. I'll play this one first. This is what I was telling you. People are waking up to what's going on in Israel, and now they're becoming more and more vocal about it.
But with a bitch like me, I'm not going to shut my mouth, and I'm not going to be intimidated. As an American who's protected by the First Amendment, who is tasked with doing a job that requires me to dig in, not get scared and run away, like a little bitch, right? I'm the kind of bitch that likes to dig in, and I'm not going to be intimidated by someone who has far more concern with a foreign country as opposed to our country here in America. I'm an American. I'm going to look out for America. Israel controls the United States. And I meant it. How are you going to argue otherwise? Okay, almost every single lawmaker on the left or right does the bidding of the Israeli government, either because they are legally bribed by AIPAC, or they're afraid that AIPAC is going to target them in some political campaign so they don't win re-election. I believe there's also a possibility of a blackmail operation. But yeah, I mean, we do anything and everything Israel wants. Why are the United States taxpayers tasked with paying for the bombs and the military of a foreign government when that foreign government had an economic surplus in 2021? Yeah. The United States hasn't had an economic surplus since 2001. So yeah, our government is controlled by Israel. And I do not apologize for saying that.
That's one more that's woke up. Don't know how long she's been awake, but that's one more that's, they're saying, hey, we don't like what we see. We don't like what's going on. These people are evil. I mean, evil as the day is long, these people are evil. It's truly, truly horrendous what is going on. So Charlie was speaking about that. Charlie had several interviews or discussions, whatever you want to call them, about Israel and what was going on in Israel. Don't know if this is the right one. Let me see if this is the right one.
No, you're not allowed to.
That's proof right there.
Charlie Kirk was starting to talk about the level of pressure he felt with regard to Israel, and that he felt more free to criticize his own government than to criticize this foreign government.
I have less ability sometimes online to criticize the Israeli government without backlash than actual Israelis do. And that's really, really weird.
An easy way to know if you are controlled. Is there somebody or something that you're not allowed to criticize?
That's right.
Simple as that. If you lived in Nazi Germany, you couldn't criticize the Nazi Party. If you lived in the Soviet Union, you couldn't criticize the Communist Party of Russia. If you live in China right now, you can't criticize the Chinese Communist Party. If you live in North Korea, you can't criticize Kim Jong-un. If you live in Cuba, you can't criticize the Cuban Communist Party. If you live in America, who can't you criticize? Who can't you criticize in America?
The Jewish lobby.
Yes.
On both sides. Right.
That's right. That tells you who controls the country. You're not. The fact that we're having this discussion and we're on the edge, all right? Everybody knows here, this is the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Why are we on the edge? Because we're touching the third rail. We're breaking the taboo. You're not allowed to discuss the power of the Israeli lobby in America.
Dave Smith isn't allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
No, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to, though. No, you're not allowed to.
That's proof right there. They control America. That's who's controlling free speech in this country.
Facts are facts, people. When you're not allowed to criticize anybody under the threat of possibly having your life taken from you. So I mentioned to you earlier, Candace's. This was one that went before I think it was the Congress or the Senate, one of the two. She was testifying before them, and one of them accused her of being a Nazi supporter. And she said, I'll have you know, and I'm paraphrasing, I'll have you know that on the day of October 7th, the day after, very shortly after the massacre, she flew to Israel with I think a Republican representative, and waited on the tarmac in order to pay her her respects to the people that were killed. And so she was a staunch supporter of Israel, very strongly supported her of Israel. And then she began to see things. Now she's questioning what's going on.
But there was a ton of evidence that Bibi Netanyahu allowed October 7th to take place, including the things that we found out, because I now read Haaretz Daily
We don't actually think he knew it was going to happen.
Well, let's just talk about the facts. We don't have to speculate on that. What we do know is that they did intercept the hostage plan before it took place, right? The 250 hostages that came out in Haaretz media. We also know that Egypt gave them a warning that the attacks were going to take place. Egypt said that they were being ignored. That was a fact. I've been to Israel. Have you been to Israel? We know it's the size of New Jersey. We know that it takes 15 minutes to get from one end to the other. And we know that every 5 feet, there's a person in your face holding a gun. That attack went on for 2 hours without interruption. I find that hard to believe. And this gets to the, I guess you could say, the nucleus of the corruption trial against him, when now he's even arguing with the IDF minister who he fired, Yoav Gallant, am I saying his last name correctly? Where they're saying that some funny stuff happened on October 7th, and they are explicitly accusing him of feeding lies to the Western media. This is crucial. And this could be the undoing of everything. If we find out that he had prior knowledge, and we do know for a fact that he said that he intentionally wanted to take over Palestinian territory, you should find that clip and play it on the show, because it's very significant when he asked the reporter, to turn off the camera, and then he starts speaking about his plans for the Palestinians. This was years ago. I think Bibi Netanyahu is a monster, and I think the people that are still standing by him and supporting him, you know, I wouldn't want to have that on my conscience.
So I wonder if she ends up being in the same category as Charlie. As time went on, from the time I guess he began to question, I don't think he ever really was, quote, against Israel. I think truly what it was is a question. He wanted a debate. Why are you doing these things? Why are these things happening? How did October 7th go down the way that it did? When he went from, and you just heard Candace say the same thing, 15 or 45 minutes from Jerusalem to the Gaza Strip. So in this one interview with him, he says, I'm looking for it and I don't see it. I thought I uploaded it. He says, was there a stand down order? He asks it twice. First he says, I have to be careful how I say this. Was there a stand down order? And he asks it twice. And those are heavy duty questions when it comes to Israel, because anything that implies Israel might be at the fault of anything is automatically met with severe obstruction and just anything to discredit whatever that might be, even though Israel has been found guilty. Can't tell you how many times of international war crimes over and over, but nobody wants to do anything to Israel. Here's another one about Charlie.
If Bibi Netanyahu, if he does something I don't like, and if I criticize it, am I like a bad Christian?
Absolutely not.
What I find strange is that we're able to criticize the American government sometimes in the Christian world with more freedom than the Israeli government. To be pro-Israel means you believe in the nation of Israel, not necessarily the government of Israel. When Joe Biden was president, you and I we loved America, but we detested our government. And those two things beautifully coexisted.
Yeah, you never once said, "Hey, I'm out on
America."
On
of
America,
course it was the opposite.
Exactly.
And what they don't want is they don't want to be called bad Christians if they challenge a foreign government, which is what happens so often.
Right.
Like, you're a bad Christian if you have a question about a foreign government.
Right.
That creates backlash that I don't think people understand.
Painting a picture? Getting the idea? Now, I can say whatever I want. I don't have to worry about it because my influence is extremely minimal compared to Charlie. Or Tucker. Tucker's another one. I may affect hundreds of people, big deal, right? In comparison to millions of followers. When you say something and you're that strong of an influencer, if it doesn't go along the lines of the existing agenda, you threaten yourself. And he knew that. He said that on several occasions. He said, we have to be careful. We have to protect ourselves. And I don't want it to come to this, but I'm afraid somebody's going to die over this. Somebody's going to get killed over this. Somebody's going to get shot. Those were the words, the last words I remember in that particular video. Somebody's going to get shot. And it's amazing when you think about it. Look at how when Charlie got shot, and it was absolutely gruesome. Okay, how did the people respond? Did we burn down towns? Did we overturn police cars? Did we set things on fire? We prayed. But when George Floyd, a known felon, a man who held a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach, when he died, and how did he die? It wasn't like he was shot. He died of a fentanyl and a combination of fentanyl and something else. I don't remember. I think it was meth. He died of a drug overdose. That's as accurate as I can say it. I can't tell you exactly what the drugs were, but I believe it was fentanyl and meth mixed, or maybe cocaine. I don't recall. But it was drugs. He died of a drug overdose. Okay. He didn't die from the guy putting his knee on his neck, which I didn't like. I didn't think that was necessary. But the point being is he didn't die from that. He killed himself, and look at what happened to our country after that. Cities burned down, businesses burned down, a couple of people murdered. There's two kinds of people living among us today. They're the ones who will resort to violence immediately, but then accuse you of being a violent person because you're defending yourself. This is what we have to look out for. I have a warning from a guy who used to, do I have that one? Oh, I don't know if I uploaded that one. I had two of them. I got the other one. And basically both of them are saying the same thing, that the people who have come into this country without the proper paperwork, and there are many of them, they're planning something awful. I mean, if this guy is, I'll play the video and you come to your own conclusion. I'm telling you, it's quite concerning, quite concerning. It's something that I hadn't thought about, but doggone it, it's quite possible, quite possible. I'll play that in a few minutes. I'm waiting for the guys to show up here so they can see it as well. I want their feedback on it. Let me try this one.
The Zionists particularly, who were against anything that is to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they wouldn't have to do anything. It couldn't be done. We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more.
5 or 6 million people out of a country and...
So it wasn't really a land without people for a people without land? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
We had to take it in small doses.
We had to take it in small doses.
We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more and expect both sets of...
We're conducting an expansionist policy of Israel, and everybody's afraid to say it.
Those are facts. And you see Tucker's questioning. More and more people are coming to the conclusion that what's happening in Israel, what Israel is doing, is not right. It's just not right. Sadly, I believe it's way too late. Way too late. Too many people have lost their children. I just watched a video. I will not play that video on the air. It's a video of a doctor, a pediatrician, who is doing autopsies on these children that were killed. And he shows an x-ray of a child with a bullet in his head. Child has a bullet in their head. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard the reports coming out, people saying, yeah, they're head shooting the children on purpose. Well, this was a video showing a doctor taking an x-ray of a child. They wouldn't show the child. They showed the x-ray only, and I'm glad, because I'm sure the child was... There's a bullet in this child's head, lodged in this child's head. So, anything we can do to bring out the horrific facts that these people are doing. People need to know this is going on. This needs to stop. I see Peter showing up. Hot dog. All right. Looking for Jerry. Let's see if I have this other one. I thought I uploaded this other one. Doggone it. I thought we had that on. All right. Jerry's in the house. All right. Well, I don't see it. Maybe it's this one.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low-crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these two threats are combining forces to come after us. And it's time that the church stands and rises up against it.
So you see, he's speaking out about the churches that are lukewarm, I think is how it's referred to in the Bible. Speaking out about Israel. He's picking on some very powerful people, but what he's doing it in love and he's doing it in truth. It's not like he's making stuff up. He's just telling the truth. All right, going to take a quick break. This is a tribute to Charlie by Tom McDonald. And when I come back, I'll have Jerry and Peter with me. Here we go.
Shot down and he was barely 31. Another woke coward took a life with a gun. He left behind a wife and a daughter and a son. All he did was try to speak for all of us. And I'm so tired of the hatred and the narratives. The patriots ain't dangerous, woke people are the terrorists. They shot and killed the father, sent a message to Americans. They ain't gonna stop until they bury us. Dear Charlie, I don't know if you can see us now, but if heaven has a window, I sure hope you're looking down. Cause we ain't going quiet, we gon' scream your name loud. And you're gone, but I swear to God that we gon' make you proud. We ain't backing off or giving up, I'll preach what you taught me. They may have killed a soldier, but that man had an army. This is far more deep than some political parties. And you can't kill freedom, so this one is for Charlie. This ain't the America that all our parents love, but good men try to keep making it great. Pray that God will take care of us, the system is failing us, when good men die for the things that they say. And I can't just be quiet, so I gotta be brave, cause this is America. Lately it's scaring us, but one good man can change it all in a day. Killed in cold blood for having a discussion, and liberals are celebrating murder like it's justice. You didn't kill a villain or the evil that it comes with. You killed a father and a husband. And I'm so tired of the left and all the wokery. We can't get along if you just kill us when we don't agree. Sniper rifle fire from a liberal that no one sees. Scared I might be next to die when I'm just buying groceries. Charlie, we'll make sure your children know that defending all our freedom is why you aren't coming home. I hope heaven has a window you can watch your children grow and hear your message echo from below. And we ain't backing off or giving up, I'll preach what you taught me. They may have killed a soldier, but that man had an army. This is far more deep than some political parties. And you can't kill freedom, so this one is for Charlie. This ain't the America that all our parents love, but good men try to keep making it great. Pray that God will take care of us, the system is failing us, when good men die for the things that they say. And I can't just be quiet, so I gotta be brave, cause this is America. Lately it's scaring us, but one good man can change it all in a day.
We're back. Hope you didn't go too far, because we have more interesting and thought-provoking information for you coming up on the Red Pill Reality Show.
All right. We got Peter in the house. We got Jerry in the house. Let me bring Jerry on.
Hey, how you doing tonight, Riscala?
Good. How are you, my friend?
Oh, just excited about the show tonight.
Awesome. Let me.
As always, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I just made a small adjustment. Yep, here you're fine. Let me bring on Peter. Are you there, Peter? Peter.
Yes, I am. How is everyone tonight?
Oh, no, we're going to go through that again. You may end up having to call me, Peter. I don't know why it is when we get on this platform, you and I have conversations off the platform, everything's fine. Since we get on the platform, it's like all broken up, like all chopped up. Like anyway, we'll try it. If it doesn't work, you got my number. Call me on my number. Huh?
Yep. No, you sound good. It's usually me, and it's because of where we're located.
There he goes. He's gone.
Located, so
We lost him.
Yeah. Peter, call me.
I know. Oh,
This is what happened. That's what happened last time. Call me, Peter.
Scala, are you
That any
excited
better?
about tonight?
Hang on a minute, Jerry. Peter, call me. Peter, call me. It's crazy. Him and I will have a conversation off the air, and it's fine. But as soon as we get on this platform, everything goes wacko. Peter, call me. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I took him off. All right, Jerry. Well, he'll call me in a minute. He'll figure it out and call me. There he is, I think. There we go. All right, say something.
Something.
Okay. soon as we get off the platform, everything's hunky-dory. Anyway, welcome, Peter.
Well, it's a pleasure being here. And, you know, when you talk about this has been how things are since it started years ago. Talk about something sensitive. And it's got to be AI now that just turns around and says, wait, Peter Kling's going to be there.
They don't like
Hold on, let me tweak this.
Yeah, they don't like it.
Yeah, and I've always had issues when you come to a certain subject that it's like, this guy said this stuff before. Look out, here it comes again.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jerry, it's a pleasure. How are you, sir?
I think he's
good. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Riscala and myself and Maggie had a pretty interesting discussion on this whole Charlie Kirk thing. And the conclusions that last week and the conclusions that we came, out with, everybody's jumped on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
And they've been saying the same thing. And so I was just curious, what's your take on the whole situation? Because you see it through different eyes than I do, but we're still looking at this, two different sides of a coin, perhaps. Did we see the same thing? What's your perception?
Well, I think that what I've seen is, we had a good man out there who was just trying to bring people together and to give the left a voice, a place to talk. An opportunity to share their thoughts without hostility, anger, or violence. And unfortunately, the left just can't stand that. And the problem is that, I was talking to someone tonight about what the left are. They keep, there's a thing in psychology called projection. And projection is basically when someone projects what they really are on someone else. Yeah. And so you look at this and everything that Charlie was representing is Christianity, American philosophy, American ideals, and the First Amendment right, and the Second Amendment right, all those rights. And guess what? What do the Democrats want? They want exactly what the Nazis wanted. The Nazis they take your gun, they take your voice, they take your money, they take your life if you don't agree with them. And that's exactly what's going on in the Democratic Party. And then you look at Zoran in Chicago. I just watched a Twilight Zone movie the other night where this guy was trying to rally people around like Hitler did in the 40s. And he couldn't get any momentum at all. And then this figure in the shadows came to him and said, well, you've got to feel their pain. Once you say you feel their pain, then they're going to rally around you. And then you say, I'm going to give those things to you that will ease your pain. And it went on like this and went on like this. And finally, at the end of the show, the figure comes out of the shadows and it's Hitler. And he said, we can do this together again. And that's exactly what Zoran is doing right now. And we're seeing that after Charlie Kirk, when they shot him, they're trying to silence us on every aspect.
Not only are they trying to silence him, but they're making an example for the rest of them. We have Tucker speaking out about it. We have Candace Owens is speaking out about it. There was someone else that was speaking out about it. I can't remember who that was. But some big influencers are coming out and speaking out against, not so much against Israel as much as question. Well, Candace, absolutely. But the others are more like Charlie was doing. He says, question why, how did this happen October the 7th? How could you guys live stream these murders happening when it only took me 45 minutes to go from Jerusalem to Gaza? It took you hours to respond. It just, why? Go ahead, Peter.
Those are all obvious answers. But, what I find here is that people are in a knee-jerk reaction. How many of them actually know and comprehend how Israel came to be? And I'm not talking about Judea. I'm not talking about the 12 tribes. I'm talking about modern day Israel.
The state.
The state. And what people do not realize is that the plans, the plans to recapture that area go all the way back to the Holy Wars, or Unholy Wars, if you want to call them that. It goes back, what did the Knights Templar do? That they went to Israel, they laid siege to the city, and we're talking over 1,000 years now. They laid siege to the city, and they killed every man, woman, and child that were in that city. It didn't make any difference whether they were Christian, Jew, or Muslim. They killed them all. And then they started to dig. Now, the question is, how did they know there was something worth digging for? Go back another 1,000 years, and you have General Titus. Well, actually, you get the first siege of Jerusalem in 67, but you get General Titus, who comes in 70 CE, lays siege to the city for 3 months. Jesus' prophecy that there wouldn't be a stone left upon a stone comes true of the temple. They raise the city to the ground. They kill over 2 million Jews, and they take about 90,000 captive back to Rome. Now, who did they take back captive? You see, the interesting thing is when they laid siege to the city, they did it during Passover, and they got the city full.
Wow.
And how long do you think it would take for the supplies to run out? So your upper echelon, your Sadducees and the Pharisees and the ruling class of Jerusalem who lived in the city were going to have their stores in the city. And if anything was buried under the city, it would have to be the ruling class that buried it. And what did Jesus call them? He called them the Jews. But we get the book in the Bible, which is called Hebrews. Whenever Jesus referred to the Jews, it was always the ruling class, the Sadducees, the Pharisees. Now, what most people don't realize is that by the end of the first century, those Jews who were taken captive back to Rome were free people. And then they settled and did the best that they could in Europe. And so it actually starts back at that time. So when you get the Knights Templar, they say, hey, we had something to go. We left stuff, our ancestors left stuff in Jerusalem. Here's our opportunity to go back and get it. And so the first Knights Templar were Hebrew. They were Hebrew families. And so why do you have two knights on one horse? Oh, well, it was a poor order of knights. Yeah, no. The Knights Templar and what became the Jesuit order of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. And so now you got two riders on the same horse. Okay, fast forward the clock. Out of that area of basically the infiltration now of Jewish people or Hebrew people into the rest of Europe. They think back to the movie Camelot. You start setting up different situations, and then you get an influx of what we now call the Khazarian Mafia, those from the synagogue of Satan who claim to be Jews and are not, but are lying, infiltrate and they get into the banking system. And this starts not just with the Rothschild family, they are the most notorious, but you have several different German Jewish banking families which were coming to power. Oppenheimer is one of them. But what the Rothschilds did was play both ends against the middle. That they learned real quick how to do this. And by the end of the Napoleonic Wars, they captured the Bank of England, they captured the Bank of France, they captured the Bank of Germany.
Okay, now wait a minute, Peter. Let's get to the Balfour Agreement.
We're on our way.
Okay.
We're on our way. At the end of the Napoleonic Wars, they had the first Congress of Vienna, which is supposed to redraw political boundaries of countries and set up what the Rothschilds wanted as a European Union, interestingly enough. And the problem is that Russia, the Tsar Alexander said, I ain't joining your club. You don't own me. You don't own my bank. I'm going home. Amschel Meyer Rothschild told the Tsar of Russia, Tsar Alexander, that my ancestors will see your ancestors wiped off the face of the earth. Boom. Fast forward, you have an interesting meeting that is held in, well, it was originally supposed to be held in Munich, Germany. But when the indigenous Jewish population of Munich, Germany found out that this meeting, where the protocol comes out of, it was the first Zionist Congress, they went into an uproar because they found out that the whole purpose of this meeting was to repatriate Jews back to the homeland. And this was in 1898, 1899, right there. So they had to move that Congress to Basel, Switzerland, and that's where they drew up the future of Jerusalem. Well, how are they going to get there? They needed a world war. So, boom, Archduke Ferdinand is killed. You have Europe at war in no time. And now you got the banking system between Germany, England, and France all battling each other out. So where did the financing come from? I wonder. So now during this time, we get to 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution, which saw Tsar Alexander's ancestors wiped off the face of the earth. The royal family was killed. Who financed that?
Rothschild.
And the Oppenheimers, both. They financed it with the Tsar's own money. Amazing. But
so how did the Balfour Agreement come into play? Because the Balfour Agreement
is here's as the war is going on, you have England, which occupied Egypt at the time, was fighting the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire went all the way down to the borders of Egypt. And so they pushed the Ottoman Empire up to what became Turkey, and England controlled all that land. Hence, once that was accomplished, Lord Rothschild wrote Lord Balfour and said, the Jews really don't have a homeland. Why don't we take what the boundaries are for the original, that was the original homeland, and set that up as the future homeland of the Jews? And Balfour said, hey, what a great idea. Let me talk to the king about it. The king gave his okie dokie, and the Balfour Agreement became a document. It went from the agreement to the declaration. So at the end of the war, the provision was made that you would have parts of what we now call Israel.
Palestine.
Being made for Palestine, yeah. Being sold to the Rothschild family, but the problem was that nobody wanted to move there, and so and they couldn't get Israel to become a state. There was no cooperation, so you needed and the big problem is that the United States of America wasn't part didn't become part of the League of Nations. So the League of Nations was born out of the First World War, and basically bootstrapped Germany and started setting up to take over that strip of land we now call Israel. But it took the Second World War and the Holocaust in order to convince the Jewish population and to get out of Europe and go to this area.
What they call Israel.
They were Israel, yeah.
So the Balfour Agreement was in 1917, right? 17, 18,
yes.
19. So they knew in the early 1900s that eventually this thing that we call Israel is going to be formed.
They knew in the 1800s.
Okay.
They had planned this. That this was part of a plan that goes back 2,000 years. And that's why we started with General Titus, to make those connections, to come all the way around to where we are today. But you see, there's the goal. There was the goal to reestablish Israel, to try to push a lot of prophecies. But the Israel we see today is not the Israel of Yahuwah or Yahweh or Jehovah. It's the Israel of those of the synagogue of Satan who claim to be Jews and are not, and are lying. Hello, Revelation 3, Revelation chapter 3, verse 9, very clear. And these are Jesus' words. He mentions the synagogue of Satan in both in two different letters to two of the first century congregations, that they were infiltrated with those who claim to be Jews that are not, but are lying. Those from the synagogue of Satan. Now, what happens to them? In the prophecy, they are brought before us to do obeisance at our feet, because God will show them how much he loves us. Now, think about that.
Peter, my point was going to be that it might be called Israel, but it wasn't God that made Israel. It was man that made Israel. And there's a lot of Christians that are going, oh, we have to support them. We have to support them. Even knowing that what they're doing is wrong right now. They're committing genocide. Even knowing that they're doing that, we have to support them. We have to support them. That's, they don't realize that this was made by man. This was not made by God, which God said, I will scatter you. And then at some point in the future, I will gather you. I don't think God gathered them. I think it was all done by the other guy. If you want my opinion, I think it was done by the dark side. Let me get Jerry's opinion about everything that's surpassed so far.
Absolutely, because we're right at a turning point here. That there's one point I want to make. Israel is known as the house that Rothschild built.
Okay.
What else do the Rothschilds control? Money?
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Let me hear from Jerry.
Let's see it. Let's pick it up there.
Hang on.
Pick it up there.
Hold your horses.
Well, well, I tend to agree with all that. But here's a question. Back to Charlie Kirk and the statements he was making about Israel could have upset a lot of people. And there's the conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theorists now are saying that there were more than just that one shooter, that there was someone that shot him from behind.
I've got a video of a couple of different angles we're going to play in a little while. You'll see the different angles, and one of them, if I uploaded the right one, actually shows a burst. You can see like a gun, when a gun goes off, the flash. It looks like a flash.
Right, up in a different area, complete different area.
Correct.
And so, and it could have been just a flash from a camera, but, you kind of look at things and you have to take in consideration. There was a lot of people there that did not like Charlie Kirk. And there was a conspiracy saying that it was, even some of his security guards could have been in on it.
Well,
so,
there's a video,
again, with his
videos. Go ahead, Jerry.
There was, again, Charlie Kirk could have upset a lot of people in a lot of different factions about Israel. And, and you take a look at this, they say he was, a hate monger. I don't necessarily believe that. I think he was trying to bring people together and say, let's have a normal dialogue. And we may not agree, but at least let's talk and look each other in the eye and have a fair discussion. And that's where the downfall.
They say he was hate speech. It wasn't hate speech. They just hated what he said.
Well, when he was telling the truth about a lot of things, like Martin Luther King, he said Martin Luther King wasn't a really good guy. And oh boy, some people were up in arms about that. But then, Martin Luther King's mother or niece or granddaughter, I don't know who it was, came out and said she supported Charlie Kirk and that she was sad about his passing and that he was really a good guy trying to preach, the good out there and just bring people together. So, with that in mind, how do we get everybody to talk in a dialogue? How do we get both sides to sit down eye to eye and
especially when they don't want
have
to talk?
a dialogue?
For how long, Jerry, have we been saying you can't talk to the other side? As soon as you bring up something that they can't handle or they don't know how to respond to or they don't like, they either walk off or get mad and yell and, oh, you're a racist, you're homophobist, you're all these ism things, you're this or that and the other. Instead of saying, okay, well, that's not how I see it. This is how I see it. They don't go to there. This is the problem that we're having.
That is the biggest problem. But, I'm starting a new website coming out called Moving Forward. And it's going to address, both sides and say, how do we move forward from this? How do we move, you and I move forward together? What do we need to change on our sides to make us unified? And I don't know if anybody's asking those questions because we all have, beliefs or ideals that if we implemented them, we could get through this. And the other side, I'm sure, has the same ideals. They have their own beliefs to move forward. What's it going to take?
I think generally speaking, the other side is not as, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not, they don't care about
open-minded.
Yeah. Open-minded is one of them. They just want what they want. They don't care if you don't like it. It doesn't matter to them. They want what they want. This is one of the problems that we see.
Well, it's like a little child. I want that toy. I want that toy. No matter what. I want that toy.
Yeah, exactly. So here's
that's
I've been talking about before you guys, both of you came on. I was telling people you can't speak out against Israel. If you speak out against Israel, you're an anti-Semite, this, that, and the other. So here's another one, and more people are waking up to this. And so I think that Israel's in a bad position right now. I think this is the right
They no longer support Israel. And everybody under 30 is against Israel. Charlie was 31. And so as a friend, he's saying to them, the same way I, as a friend, am saying, I am telling you, you've lost Dems, independents, and you're starting to lose Republicans.
I was shocked and sickened by the reaction of the ghoulish and really repulsive reaction of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, to Charlie's death. Basically made it all about him and all about his country. Immediately trying to take the energy, the sadness, the grief that people felt over Charlie's murder and redirect it towards support for whatever project he's involved in. I don't think I've ever seen anything lower than his attempt to hijack Charlie's memory and use it for his own political ends, particularly because what he said was completely untrue. Charlie did not like Bibi Netanyahu, and he said that to me many times, and he said it to people around him many times. He felt that Bibi Netanyahu was a very destructive force. He was appalled by what was happening in Gaza. He was, above all, resentful that he believed Netanyahu was using the United States to prosecute his wars for the benefit of his country, and that it was shameful and embarrassing and bad for the United States, and he resented it.
More and more people coming to the light and seeing what's going on. That Israel is not these innocent victims that they've claimed to be for so many years. So we talked about different angles of the shooter, different things coming up. This is a short video of a different angle of the shooting.
All right, next video. This is the other side. I'm not going to show him. I want you to look at this guy. Everyone knows he did the hand signals. They're accusing this guy of something. They're accusing this guy of something. But I want you to look at his shirt. You're going to see something fly by. So I'm zooming on him now, so you don't see Charlie while it doesn't get taken down, but I'm pressing play. You're going to see this, let's see, right there. There's this white right there. It makes him flinch. Something passes by him. Two of them. Right there. Look at the black shirt. Look at the video. Look at the black shirt. It's right there. What is that? That's what makes him flinch. That moving.
Peter, can you see what's going on? Or are you just on darkness over there?
No, I can see that, and that's odd. I don't have an answer.
I think there were bullets. There was another video. I don't think I uploaded that one, which actually the guy actually.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
There was another video where the guy actually stopped the video right just in time to physically see a bullet. You can see the actual bullet.
I couldn't quite see it on. I had to open up YouTube.
The only thing you could see on that one was just the trails, what they call a vapor trail from the bullet passing so quickly. But there were two vapor trails there, clearly two different shots. I don't know why people didn't hear it, but there were the guy in. Let me go back for a minute. Look at the guy in the background, not the guy in the foreground in the white shirt and the white cap. The guy in the background in the white shirt. Watch his arms, because it looks like he's actually pointing something. I don't know if it goes far enough to show him that.
All right, next video. This is the other side. I'm not going to show him. I want you to look at this guy. Everybody knows he did the hand signals. They're accusing this guy of something. They're accusing this guy of something. But I want you to look at his shirt. You're going to see something fly by. So I'm zooming on him now. So you don't see Charlie while it doesn't get taken down. But I'm pressing play. You're going to see this. Let's see. Right there.
Right there. Right there.
There's this white right there.
But
it makes him flinch.
See, this program doesn't allow me to go
All
back.
right, next video. All right, next video. This is.
Yeah, I can't pause it is the problem. The guy that is of interest is behind the guy in the white cap, and he's standing right next to the girl.
All right, next video. This is.
I wish I could pause it. Anyway, I think I have another one which shows this guy, and clearly something's going on.
Pay attention to this. On Charlie Kirk shooting, you see him right there? That's him debating with somebody here right before he gets shot. Right here. He got shot from his right-hand side, on that side, coming out here. See the wall there? Right next to him, his people, and another wall. I'm going to make this make sense in a second.
Massacres that have been in America over the last 10 years, counting or not counting gang violence.
All right, that's right when he gets shot. Right there. He got shot right then. Coming from that side of him, coming to here. Correct. Now see the wall? See the bleachers here? You see another wall there. They're saying he got shot from rooftop, which means he would have to be up from here.
He's saying, this guy's saying
down
from
there,
the rooftop.
he got shot from that side, coming out here. But I'm going to make something else very trivial. Where they said the shooter was, watch this.
A second later, he was shot in the neck in the middle of the quad, sitting underneath a banner that said, "The American Comeback." We know one round was fired.
Okay, now, from what I just showed you, he's here, facing that direction. That's the wall you were seeing. Those are the bleachers you were seeing. Those are the people you were seeing. He got shot from here going out there. Now they're saying he got shot from a shooter over here, which would make the trajectory basically in his throat, out his back. Impossible. This is a cover-up, people. He was shot from this side, going out that side. I know that. I'm ex-military, guys. I know how a bullet works. And if you saw the canopy in the beginning, you couldn't see the canopy, or sorry, you couldn't see him from the canopy from up here, only from right here. Because the canopy was very low, and if you look, you can only see people up this high. And he was shot from this direction, going out to that direction. They're saying the shooter was there. 100% impossible. If something happens to me, guys, please understand. I'm just trying to uncover this. They're covering it up 1,000%. So I really want you to pay attention.
Call me a conspiracy theorist, but if you watch this frame by frame from this side angle, something appears above his ear, and then moves, and then moves, and then moves again. You can see it right there. Could this actually be where he was shot, and the bullet came out of his neck? Bullets expel a lot of energy as they're traveling across.
Just a couple of different theories, questions, and very few answers. And it is very clear that we're not being told the truth about what happened.
Well, you look at how many people wanted Charlie Kirk dead, and it goes on. You look at what's happening now on the media, all these people that are reveling in his demise, his murder, and they think it's great. They think it's fantastic. And the reality of it is, a lot of these people are getting fired. Thousands of people have been fired because of their comments. And you look at these statements, like even that show host last night, what's his name?
Kimmel
got zapped as well. Kimmel, he got zapped. What an idiot.
They're all saying he's just getting fired because he was speaking his mind. He doesn't have freedom of speech, and they don't realize that.
Well, but here's the thing:
reason
a lot of people
on is to make money, and if you're not making money, you're off, pal. That's what it boils down to.
Well, here's something a lot of people don't realize. Okay, FCC, since they're on a national internet or nationally broadcast station, meaning not on cable, that's a free air station, which is controlled by the FCC. They violated FCC licensing. And so the FCC, they're saying, well, the FCC targeted them. No, they violated FCC broadcast rules for an over-the-air station. ABC, CBS, NBC fall into that category. So if they violate those statutes, then they can lose their license. And the FCC director warned them, but didn't even have to warn them very long, because what happened, those other stations pulled their publicity immediately, pulled that broadcast. So everybody's going, freedom of speech. No, it's the rules of FCC for over-the-air broadcast.
It's FAFO, buddy.
FAFO.
FAFO, bub. Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely.
But we're starting to see people rise up, and people who are just angry about, the senseless murder of somebody for no reason. No reason.
And like you said, people celebrating, which is really just shows how dark and how wide the separation is. People would celebrate that. Wow.
Well, and the sad part about it is that they actually think it's great to see somebody murdered. And that tells you about how we have lost our humanity and our belief in a higher power.
Yeah. Spiritually void. What do you think, Peter? Spiritually void.
Yeah, and it goes back to those from the synagogue of Satan. Nazism is an interesting word. How it actually, it's a compounded word. And here we go. Most people don't realize this is actually a coin that was minted in Germany, which shows a swastika on one side and the star, what we call the Star of David, on the other side. Now, that is not the Star of David. That is the star of the god Molech, the god who required live child sacrifice, who was a nemesis in Israel throughout the years, from the time of King Solomon forward. And what they were engaged in at Jesus' time, it doesn't really talk about any of that, but the Valley of Hinnom was, that archaeologists have found over 20,000 child corpses there that were burned.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was a garbage dump in Jesus' day. They took the sacrificial area of Molech and turned it into a garbage dump. But the Pharisees and the Sadducees still carried out the Talmud and the what's the other one? The Talmud and the Kabbalah. So that they became the teaching books as opposed to the law of Moses, and Jesus even made reference to that. But getting back to the Nazism, so you've got NA, which are the initials for which was the National Workers Association, and ZI, the first letters in what word? Slap them together and you get Nazi. And they minted a coin, Star of Moloch on one side, which became the Star of David, which was actually the emblem on the shop of great-great-great-grandpa Rothschild. It was actually Bauer back then. It was on their shop. They were like pawnbrokers. They dealt in coins and jewels and whatever else they can get their hands on.
Well, so some people were thinking that this was fake, and I found a video that was quite interesting where, again, it questions. It just makes me question. I'm not getting answers. I'm getting
My friend Charlie Kirk. Rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla. Now just get me to turn a little towards the mic.
I got a picture at the top.
These are a very, very fine pointed scissor. They snip through foam really, really well. And also they've got a lot of control over the blade. It's a little bit lower than I wanted to be, but that's actually not a bad thing. Regarding the pale colour of the foam on the inside, some people like to paint that red. I don't. Your flesh is naturally white inside. I'll bring you back to this position. And I kind of like the white because it's going to go red very, very quickly. And I like that.
Gives me the heebie-jeebies watching that.
I really do. I like this. Now, Mike, if you drop your head down, just relax. See, it's almost like I can finger the wound back in. It's almost like it's undetectable. 3, 2, 1.
Creating this hit took an air pressurized.
Been watching the reaction amongst the most, faithful supporters of the president. We put together a budded soundbite. In this, you'll hear names you'll hear from names that you know. The only one who doesn't seem to be demanding more is our friend Ben Shapiro, but you'll hear almost a uniform tone from literally almost everyone else on the right.
Again, questions. Did you get to see the mask there, Peter?
Yeah, and this is, I'm listening to the different people and what they're saying about, the shooter was here, the shooter was there, 1,000%. No. These people have no knowledge of ballistics. And yeah, that's about the area that the blood poured out from now, isn't it?
It was a little more to the side, but my point being, the reason I showed the video is that I always thought that the masks were extremely thin when they went on, in order to be able to be flexible. That the thicker they are, the less flexible they are, I guess is what I'm trying to say. What do you think, Jerry? What do you think about that mask?
It's
Isn't that crazy?
Okay, if that's the case, then why is Charlie not alive?
Well,
go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, let me answer that, because I've been listening to the narrative for the last week, and Jerry, you got to go back and listen to last week's show, because we covered a lot of very pointed areas, including the ballistics of the rifle that they said that they used to kill Charlie Kirk. Well, that should have left a gaping hole in the side of his neck that you could have driven a bus through almost, because of the velocity of the bullet and the amount of energy that it delivers. So if those guns weren't used, then some other gun had to be. And I was thinking about it. The only way that gun could have been used in the assassination is if it were a 30-06 full ball ammo, or possibly armor piercing, because that would just leave a needle hole. But still, that's an inaccurate bullet. It's not, and there are just too many things that don't add up. Why one gun and then they switched it to another gun? And you can't break down either one of those guns. That they're, unless you've got gunsmithing equipment. So you can't dismantle either one of the guns that they did show. And nothing in the narrative holds together to not raise a lot of questions as this being a little more than a magician's show. However, that being said, the quote, if you want to call them heavy hitters in the truther community, are supporting the idea that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And so that is the narrative, that he's been assassinated. And it doesn't make any difference at this juncture whether it was a cover-up assassination where they actually played it out. You go look at the movie Eraser. You kill somebody and everybody sees it, they're dead. Well, I've heard from 3 separate sources that Charlie Kirk is in a witness protection program, and his family. And I would much rather believe that we all had the wool pulled over our eyes and Charlie Kirk is safe and sound with his family, because one of the things I heard is that Israel was going to pay him $150 million to end his rants about Israel. Now you say, well, that's a significant money. Well, not for somebody who's got 500 trillion. And so Charlie Kirk was a chess piece. And by his assassination, the country has literally reached a turning point in where we are. We've hit a turning point.
Well, that's true. And we're seeing the rise of, a lot of, people going back to church again, people that are the 64,000 applications for turning point locations in the United States, chapters at the colleges. It's significant. So, did this make a difference? Maybe so. Maybe that was the whole premise behind this, if you want to call it a deception.
So now if you've got this narrative, and here's the interesting thing, along with the assassination narrative, that they're alleging that Mossad was behind it.
I agree.
Now, if Mossad was behind it, then they either made an agreement with Kirk, or they just turned around and they botched something up that should have been real easy for Mossad to take care of. It still doesn't add up. So many things don't add up until you look at where we are after the turning point. And if this is all to add people on and to expose Israel's connection, and they've infiltrated the country. They infiltrated it over 100 years ago with Woodrow Wilson, worst president ever. He sold out the United States.
No, I don't think anybody can beat Biden.
Biden.
I don't think anybody can beat Biden.
No,
I give him the what do they get with at the awards, the golden whatever that's
Golden
called.
Globes.
Yeah. He gets
Biden was president in absentia.
Yeah.
It was whoever was in the Biden cabinet. Biden was just a figurehead. He was a useful idiot, as that.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad.
He was a useful idiot.
Yeah. It is
So-
sad. So
And
I got
then
to
it
hang
wasn't
on.
really Biden, you know?
I got another one. I got another video I want to play. I don't think I played this one yet.
So somebody sent me this footage today. Let me know what you guys think, because it's a different angle.
That's not the same. That's the same one I just played a minute ago. I had a different one that showed where the guy caught the bullet in midair. I was freaked out. I don't know how he did it, but they caught it in midair. Unless it's, we don't know anything is real anymore. You can't tell, but it looked very real. Where they caught the bullet literally in midair. Let's see. Let me see.
What? Whoa, what just happened here? Hold on. What's he got in his right hand?
This is the one that
Let's
talks
go
about
back
the
here.
mark on his shirt.
What the heck? Is that a double whammy he just took to the...
It appears as though the mark on his shirt
Oh,
jumps
the
from
bullet,
his
I'm
shirt to
sorry,
his
I forgot
neck.
that was supposed to be a gunshot. What am I thinking? Interesting.
Looks like whatever it was, and I've seen that black mark from several different videos, so it wasn't that one particular video. He had something on his shirt that was black, and it appears as though it jumps from his shirt on and makes the mark on his neck. If that, I don't know. That's just what it looks like on the video.
Okay, now here's with the non-expanding bullet, you could put it right through the jugular vein and cause and have very little damage, but I don't think you're going to do it with an 06 caliber.
Yeah.
I think you're still going to see the side of the neck get ripped out.
That's what I was saying. And go ahead.
And so now, is that black mark being moved in order to let a blood flow using CGI? Is that the marker to let the blood flow? And you have to question where are these videos coming from? Are these just random? Who's putting this stuff out?
Well, these are videos. Apparently, these are videos from private individuals that were there that happened to.
Yes. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
But where does the D go in one video, or the F go in
The F,
freedom?
yeah.
And then you clearly saw that black mark be moved across the top of the T-shirt over
Right.
to the side of the neck, exactly where the blood started coming out.
Right.
You don't see any other blood marks. You don't see any perforations in the T-shirt. So when you look at that, CGI?
I can't help but wonder how much of it is. And I had this video, doggone it, I can't find it, where they have somebody shooting from behind him out towards the crowd, and when whatever happens, they say, "Look, can you see that? There's a trap door underneath the table that he's sitting at. The table's in front of him. Underneath that table, there's a trap door of some sort, and it appears that they're pulling something out and putting something in. I don't know. Again, it all leads me to more questions and no answers, and that's why I say it's all up in the air for me. I will not believe what they're telling me. I don't know that he's actually dead. In one way, if I'm right, and it was all put on in order to protect him from people that are out of the country, he might as well be dead, because he won't be able to show up anywhere, because he's, his face is famous. He's been seen all over the world. There's people that were paying tribute to him all over the world, UK, Korea, Australia, all over. And so, like I'm saying, unless he wears a mask, one of these masks, maybe then if he wears one of those masks, he could put a Biden mask on. Then you can go wherever you want.
Well, you can do plastic surgery quite easily.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
He'd have to have his
Lip and
teeth
tongue.
fixed too, because he got a very unusual set of teeth.
His smile is unique. It's very obvious.
And I'm sure you can put them in lots of different places, but the first thing you're going to do is put them in seclusion.
Yeah. If that's the case, yeah. See, now, like I said, more and more questions instead of answers. Tell me this isn't like a complete setup. Listen to this.
I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. Police found a photograph of this note. The following exchange text exchange then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry." Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." Roommate, "Why?"
Kind of reminds me of the passport that they found on 9/11. Oh yeah, we found this guy's passport. 3 buildings come down, completely different. 2 of them completely disappeared, but they got this guy's passport. Wow, they got this guy's emails, texts back and forth.
Yeah, it's all too convenient, and you know we could discuss this till the cows come home. But you know, here again, I'll say it's the turning point, and what are the repercussions to come? And when you look at the momentum that Charlie Kirk himself had built up against Israel, how many of those factions, how many chapters? What Jerry C said, 64,000. The last I saw was 18,000. Was like, oh, whoa, that's a big jump. But regardless, you got chapters in the thousands that want to carry that same message. And if you go back to the Q post said, "We're saving Israel for last."
Yeah.
Why? Because Israel is the house that Rothschild built. What are the Rothschilds involved in? The banking system. Where did Trump just go to? The city of London. Oh, you mean the center of banksters for the world?
Now that was an interesting visit.
Yeah. And so we see these anomalies that come out. What I thought was very interesting is that he was given the Union Jack, which flew over Buckingham Palace on the day of Trump's inauguration. So did Trump just capture the flag of the British Isles?
I want to hear from Jerry. What do you think about him visiting over there? Do you notice anything peculiar about or have you seen it? Have you seen the video?
Well, going on over in England, don't you?
Yeah, where he was over in England walking in front of everybody.
Go ahead. Did we lose you, Rascala?
So I was asking.
Yeah. I mean, besides that, what's happening in England? Did I? Hello?
I don't know.
Are you there?
Are you there?
Can you hear me, Rascala?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here.
I was asking you.
Okay. Yeah, I was watching that, but I also was. Go ahead.
No, nobody's saying anything. Go ahead. I don't know.
Okay. What I was
having...
watching also is the protest going over there.
You there?
Yeah.
I'm losing him. I think it's a stupid platform again. You there, Jerry? Yeah, we're either getting a delay.
Okay, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that any better? Okay.
I can hear you fine.
Well, you see what's happening in England right now. Okay. You see what's happening in England right now. A friend of mine just tried to make a comment on here. Her name was Kat Rapelli, and she wanted to try and get in. So I wanted to see if she can get in. But anyway, besides Trump being over there, you saw the protest over there about how the Islamic mayors that are taking over England are preventing the country from flying their own flag, and saying it's offensive to the Muslim. So capitalize that with Trump being over there for the first time ever in the history of any president to go to England. It's pretty amazing what's happening. And you wonder what the ulterior motives.
Could he be the king? I want to play this.
Scholar, are you still there?
Oh yeah, still here. I think there's a delay or something. That's why we're having this issue. I don't know if it's on my side or your side. Anyway, I'm going to play this video. Is Trump the new king?
Unbelievable that a lot of you will indeed find it very hard, if not absolutely impossible to believe. But it doesn't make it less true. I want to ask you to hear me out. Stop the rat race of scrolling like a madman over social media and pay some attention, because this is worth listening to. Listen really carefully for a few minutes, because I need to explain it a little more in depth, because otherwise you would absolutely have no way of being able to believe this. What I'm going to demonstrate to you is that President Trump is literally liberating the entire world from the satanic British elites. How is he doing that? He is now effectively the king, not Prince Charles. Prince Charles is a dummy. He's a dummy from a ventriloquist, or I don't know how you pronounce that weird word. He's literally a talking dummy. President Trump is the king. He's the real king. I'm going to show you several things that will blow you away. First of all, President Trump months ago declared Canada the 51st state of America. He was not joking. And he called Trudeau his governor. He was not joking. He's not saying that because he's all of a sudden lost his mind. He's saying that because he is effectively liberating the British Commonwealth. Canada will become the 51st state of America. Trump can only make such wild statements if they have defeated the satanic British elites. He can only make such statements. And then he started talking about Australia, wishing Australia a happy new year. And then he started talking about the people from England and saying they know what's going on. Liberation Day. And then Elon Musk followed in suit, said the same things. Liberation is coming to the UK. They can only make statements like this if they have effectively taken out the Rothschilds and all those satanic bloodlines that have been ruling the whole world from within the city of London. Now listen really carefully to me, because I'm going to prove to you that something is happening in the world that is so indescribably powerful that it just blows our mind. Trump visited the United Kingdom on his Papi Trumpo account, and he has publicly confirmed that this is his account. I'll show it here again for those of you who have not seen this yet.
Win this. You are. You're going to win this.
We're going to win.
Yes, we are.
We don't win, this country is finished. Appreciate you guys.
Are you Papi Trumpo?
Yeah, I think so. But Papi Trumpo, it's called a parody account, but it is the alternative back channel account from President Trump, where his team constantly posts funny comments, often with a deeper meaning. If you pay attention, then you see that it's very high level information that is sometimes posted there. And President Trump uses it to encourage the patriots who know what is what, who understand that it's his account, and he's talking to them like a friend with humor, and he's revealing what's really going on the Papi Trumpo account. When he went to England, President Trump constantly posted, "The real king is here. The king has arrived. Look at this beautiful queen," about his wife. She was dressed in bright yellow, which is historically reserved for royal families, for the highest authority. Trump was not received and not driven around in a limousine with police escort like Obama, Bush and all the others. He was literally given the exclusive, unprecedented, never before, outrageously weird honor of riding around in the royal carriage, escorted by the royal guards. This has never, ever in all of history happened before. This is only for the King or the Queen of England. And not even on every occasion. This is the highest of the highest of the highest honor. This is literally exclusively for the King of England. The fact that they drove President Trump around in the royal carriage, escorted by the royal guard, this tells us everything we need to know. But there's way more. Then he was brought not to Buckingham Palace like everybody else. He was brought to the freaking Windsor Castle, the royal castle, only for the kings, only for the Queen of England, only for the royal family. No foreign leaders are ever invited in Windsor Castle, but Trump went to Windsor Castle. And then, even more spectacular, he literally went on inspection of the royal guard. No foreign leader does that. They have no business doing that. And Prince Charles was walking many feet behind him. And all the press and media is going crazy like he's breaking protocol. He's not breaking any protocol. He's following the protocol because he's the King of England. He's the King of the British Commonwealth. He has taken over control. He has eliminated the world rule of the Satanists who were ruling America from within the city of London. I'm not saying London City, I'm saying the city of London. And then he goes on inspection over the royal guard. That is unbelievable. And then he stands at Windsor Castle and the royal guard is being presented to him. They only do that to the king or the queen. They never do that for a foreign leader. That is insane. They do it only for the King or Queen of England. And Trump stood there and he saluted the military of England. Hey, he has no business doing that. It's not his army. Or is it? And Prince Charles was standing there with his arms down.
All right, let's see if we can make this thing work here. Here we go. Put it back up. What do you think about that, Jerry?
Well, I've got a friend from England that was saying that his statement was a little off the deep end, and so she's a British citizen. And she's also a Canadian citizen, and she's also a U.S. citizen. And so, you got to read everything with a grain of salt. I mean, you can make anything out of everything, but the fact is that he was treated like royalty over there doesn't imply that he had any status over anybody else there. This was the exception to the rule, and that reality is that, again, you can make anything out of anything. And they just respect Trump because they needed these trade deals to go through that Trump was kind of putting a kibosh on. And because they weren't, the trade deal is huge to the United States. So what do you think they're going to do but suck up to the guy that can make these trade deals? So I think that it's more along the line of how can we suck up to this guy?
Well, that's a good point. What do you think, Peter? Peter thinks
nothing
that,
more than that. I don't. Yeah.
Peter thinks that he is the king. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah. Biblically speaking, I think that what we're actually seeing in Revelation 17, and I love Revelation 17:17, But in Revelation 17, you've got the formation of the eighth king. This would be the eighth world power coming to be. And this king puts together a coalition, this eighth world power puts together a coalition of 10 kings who do not yet have a kingdom. Interesting wording, but their main focus. Now, Revelation 17:17 is quite interesting. It says, and I'll paraphrase, it says that they carry out the will of God down to his very command. They carry out his will. And so what was the will of God? Well, that was to go up against Babylon the Great and destroy the great harlot, which would be modern day religion, starting with the Vatican. And I give you the picture of, was it 2017? I think it was, or 2018 actually, when Trump was standing next to the Pope at the Vatican. It was 2018 that he became a world buffoon walking in front of the Queen. Well, the Queen insisted that he go ahead of her. She was being submissive to Trump. And so Trump walked past the Queen. In 2018, I'm sorry, that was 2017. It was 2018. No, I guess it was on the same trip. It was later that trip when Trump first reviewed the troops. Charles walked him out to, as he basically did, and then he just stood there off to the side and let Trump inspect the troops by himself. That's never happened before. And then he did it again on this trip, only Charles was in tow. And so there's so many protocols were broken, both on his trip in 2018
Well,
and
but
this
again,
trip here.
don't you think? But don't you think there's simply, I mean, stroking his ego because they need trade deals with the United States more than anything. That's the problem. What's happening? They want to make sure that they get these trade deals done no matter what.
The Royals don't need squat. The House of Windsor owns 26% of the land mass of planet Earth.
Holy smokes.
The Vatican owns 64%. Think about that. What do the Windsors need? Oh, let me see. The sun never set on British soil. The royalty doesn't give a damn. The royalty wants to preserve its royal heritage, its royal lines, which are being strangled by, guess who? The Rothschild family. Who do we owe? What is it? I've heard two figures, $4 quadrillion in debt. Was a figure I heard about 10 years ago. A couple of months ago, I heard was $2.2 quadrillion. Who does the world owe $2.2 quadrillion to?
Who's got all that money?
Yeah, and the Rothschild family controls. When I wrote Letters to Earth, they controlled $500 trillion.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like what? So in order to bring down the Federal Reserve banking cabal that writes money out of thin air, I guess that means our debt is all fake too, isn't it? If you got fiat currency, you got fiat debt. But you got to end the debt, which brings us right back to the city of London here, where Trump went to go meet Starmer. Now, Starmer's going to be interested in trade deals. That I agree with 100%. The Royals don't give a damn. They want to preserve their line, their heritage, because we're going to go through a very interesting transition here as a lot of people start tonight. These are like all the cars lining up, getting or putting all the horses in the stalls, waiting for the bell to sound, and then we're going to be off to the races. And it's the turning point race that we're at. So, I'll be quiet. Jerry, give me your input. You got also one thing. Look at the way that Trump was treated when he went to
Well, I
Dubai and all these other different countries. They kissed his royal butt.
Well, but the reality is here. What's happened is Trump is not taking any crap from anybody. And
True.
so what he's done, everybody's a little paranoid about what Trump might do. And if you look at this, he's the good old walk and carry a big stick is what Trump's doing. And the world is cowing down to him because, he's controlling everything. He's controlling the economy. He's controlling the military, the strength. And he just showed Iran, hey, guess what, dude? Don't mess with us. And so the world has come to a realization that Trump, one, does have an ego. They need to stroke it to keep everybody happy and on good terms because they now are afraid of America. They're afraid that America can do whatever it wants to do in the world and show the world we're the power. And that's not what we had before. We had a weak president with Joe Biden who actually would go around and go, whatever you want. And then Obama was worse because he went down and bowed down to the Shahs in Dubai and was kissing their feet. And so now somebody that goes, I'm not doing that. You either respect me, look me in the eye, shake my hand, or, I don't need you. And that's what's happened with Trump. Trump has taken our country to a level that has never been before. And in the world, he's trying to bring peace everywhere he can. No president has ever done that because you know why? They get rich from it. You look at the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Johnson was heavily invested in helicopter and didn't want anybody with money in Bell Helicopter. There we go. There's a president after Kennedy that was all about money. We look at all these people. Trump doesn't need any money. He's the first president we've ever had that went in a billionaire and coming out the same or less, as opposed to Obama, who went in with a total assets of $2 billion. Now he's worth what? Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, every one of the past presidents.
Yeah.
Every one of them. And so guess what? Trump doesn't have to cow down to anybody. And so everybody is kissing his butt because they're going to need him one way or another. And they don't know to what extent they might need him. So guess what? He's getting the royal treatment everywhere he's going. Look at it.
Did you, Jerry,
Dubai
did you see?
Pretty much everywhere he has gone down to him.
Did you?
Yes, you're 100% right, Jerry. And now you have to say why. What is it? Just because he's the president of the United States? This goes beyond that because he went from we had the Biden administration.
Well, especially, he's more than he's.
Joke, I want to know who is writing Biden's check, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. I think Jerry's having a problem on he's freezing up on you. There he is.
That was
Obama. You're breaking up, Jerry. I don't know if you've got a bad internet connection. Turn your video off. I turned my video off to try to help. Turn your video off. Maybe that'll help. Turn your camera off. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, can you hear me okay?
Does that help any?
Can you hear me okay?
Is that better? Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. Yeah, it might
much
be
better.
Yeah, it could have been.
So maybe it was my video.
That's why I turned my video off because I was getting it on my end. So I just turned the video off, which increases the bandwidth, and it doesn't take as much to handle the audio as it does the video. All right, go ahead, Peter.
Well, maybe if I shut.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Jerry said. Sorry you're having difficulty there, but hopefully the bandwidth situation will take care of it. But there's got to be, you see, there has to be something more behind what's going on with Trump, and that there is. But this isn't the show or the platform. We'll be covering this in the show that I'm starting a show on Trim Radio Network October 23rd. and we'll be covering this type of subject where we can get into it a lot deeper. But looking at it from, the general perspective, that there's one key point, and I think that this not a whole lot of people focus on this. It was December 20th, I believe, or 21st. Trump signed an executive order that dealt with two things: human rights violations, which was focused on human trafficking, and child abuse was in there, child trafficking, and people were named. But it gave the government the right to seize the assets of anybody who was suspected or charged with a human rights violation. The other side of the coin was conspiracy. And I read this document 3 times just so I had it well in mind. But in brief, the conspiracy side, that's a wide paintbrush. But it also covers those people who use the government for their own benefit, whether financially or otherwise. So if Nancy Pelosi and the investment gang, they have this to answer to, and that executive order that goes all the way up to treason and or death, because conspiracy brings you to if you're conspiring against the government, that could be treasonous, certainly seditious, and using the government for your own personal gain.
But the problem is every president has done that. Every president has gone
except
in.
One. Which one? Trump? Yes.
Trump is the only one that has no benefit, no financial gain. Matter of fact, he lost billions of dollars by being president. He has regained it because he's a marketing wizard. I mean, you look at all the stuff he was selling on the internet. I'm sure he's regained his wealth twofold. But that's the whole difference. This is the first president that can't be bought.
Exactly. And this is the first president that can hold them all accountable. And you know that executive order has not yet been rescinded. Biden never rescinded that order. Why? Maybe he didn't have the power to.
Which order are you talking about? Which order are you talking about?
The executive order that Trump had signed, I can't tell you the number, but you just go executive orders issued by Trump 2017 December, and it would have been the 20th, I believe. Right before the winter solstice, he put that out. I'm thinking, isn't that interesting? A shot across Saturnalia's bow.
What was it? I don't know what you're talking about.
It's that bill which directly addresses human rights violations, but it's mostly focused on human trafficking, child trafficking specifically. And the other side was conspiracy. There's two sides to that executive order.
And Peter?
Yeah.
Peter, Executive Order 13818, it looks like.
There you go.
Okay. But what was the premise behind it? What was the premise behind it? What was he trying
to end $1 billion a year industry and human trafficking around this planet?
Well,
to end the sale of body parts.
I don't know if you heard the conspiracy one where they said that Obama was trafficking children out of the White House.
And if you look at there was a video of buses in front of the White House, and they were taking children out. You can still find that on YouTube, or at least in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
Right. And so, Trump is doing what no other president has ever done in our history. Because every president prior to him wanted to make money off their position. And they did. Every one of them. Trump has lost money. So you take that into consideration. He can thumb his nose at everybody, every country, every president, every dictator, look what he's doing in Venezuela right now. He's knocking in the socks off. And then another thing he's doing, executive orders to blow drug trafficking ships out of the water. Everybody's going, they deserve due process. Yeah, well, they got due process.
Yeah.
Well,
And you know,
Jerry, do you know who the #1 child trafficker is in the world?
Ukraine.
Ukraine.
The Vatican.
Oh,
the
wow.
Vatican. Oh, I didn't.
The
Yeah,
Vatican,
I
the
would.
Vatican
I would
has,
agree with that.
yeah, and so how do you take down a religious empire? There's one of two ways. I've been saying for the last almost 15 years, let the children speak. Once you get the testimony of those kids that were trafficked that are still alive
Well-
or involved in this, and where it leads all the way up to, it's dark. It gets really dark, and it fills biblical prophecy. That's the crazy part.
Well, that's why we look at President. Why you look at President Trump, he's rooting out evil in every capacity, in every facet of our lives. He is rooting it out, and it's the first person in history, period, that has taken the efforts away from all these evil environments and put God first, and the control that he has, because he's not beholden to anybody. He can thumb his nose at everybody because he doesn't need anything from anyone. And the first president in the history of America has never taken a salary. That's pretty incredible.
And you know what? You know what his leverage is? By putting forth that executive order, he got leverage on everybody, right up to the Vatican, because he had the goods on him.
And that also stopped the Epstein conspiracy. I mean, you know.
So this must be why the Pope looks like that. Oh,
Not
no.
very happy. Not very happy. Hey, we need to segue into the next thing about white privilege.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Jerry's had a very unique experience about white privilege.
Well, you know.
Go ahead, Jerry, and then I'd like to comment after, but please give your experience.
You know, we hear this white privilege everywhere. We're all, you know, these. If you're a white guy, you're special in everything. You get all this special treatment. Well, I can attest to that as being false. And it just happened as recent as last Monday to me. I'm over the age of 40. I'm very educated. I'm extremely knowledgeable in my industry. Matter of fact, I teach all the time to government agencies, Department of Defense, IRS, OSHA, you name it, I've taught them. And so I started an investigation in Florida to see what the hiring practices were in Florida at every county in the state of Florida. So recently I was in Bay County, which is in Panama City, Florida, and I was interviewed by the Department for Conflict Resolution for a position there, which I knew for a fact I wouldn't get. And that's why I've been doing all these investigations and applying at all these different counties. Well, sure enough, they said, oh, we've gone in a different direction. This just also happened to me in Lake County, Florida. And so what I did is, under the Freedom of Information Act, I asked for the application of the person that was hired. Now, the person that was hired had no legal education whatsoever, had wanted double the salary they were offering, was Asian, female at the age of 30. Okay? Now, compared with me, a white guy, over age of 40, highly educated, and, you know, I went to Purdue, I've got studies at Harvard, Pepperdine University, Duke University, Indiana University, University of Houston, on and on and on, University of Colorado. And guess what? They hired the young girl with no experience. And so I went and interviewed 160 times with the federal government to have one interview. I flew from Panama, the country, to Houston, to Kansas City, to Atlanta, Georgia, to South Carolina, to be interviewed in the EEOC department of the federal government. And when I got there, again, my education, experience, skills should have slid me right in. Instead, I get there, an African-American woman comes out, looks at me, goes back inside. A couple minutes later, another African-American woman comes out, takes me into a room with a Hispanic male and said, "We want to thank you for coming in for the interview." And I said, "Great, I'm glad to be here." And they said, "We're done." I said, "What do you mean we're done?" She goes, "We're done. You can leave." I said, "Aren't you going to ask me about my education, my skills, my expertise, my knowledge?" "No, we're done." They hired an African-American flight attendant to do the job of an EEOC mediator. Now, this is what's going on around the nation to white privilege. And then again, in Bay County, on Monday, the same thing happened. And when the woman called me and said, "We went in a different direction," I said, "The fact of the matter is you're not going to hire an old white guy that's better educated and has more experience than anybody you could have interviewed." And I just wanted to confirm it. So thank you very much for, frankly, wasting my time. But I've been doing this investigating for around the state of Florida. Now the complaints are, I've been filing complaints with the U.S. Department of Justice now, and Pam Bondi, to have them investigate all these counties in Florida.
So I thought DEI was out.
Well, supposedly.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like DEI.
Well, that's exactly what I said to the attorney. Now, you'll love this. When I requested under the Freedom of Information Act, which they're supposed to provide under Section 19 in the Florida statute, the guy said, "Well, we don't have to provide that information that you want," which all I wanted was any text messages referencing me. And then he turned around and he says, oh, we can give that to you. After all, you have to pay us $90. So then when I said, "Okay, where do I mail the check?" He goes, "Well, now I've changed it to $200. So he kept upping the price for me to get the information that should be free under the Freedom of Information Act.
Wow.
So this is what's going on out there. And I'm not stopping this fight until I bring notice to it and let everyone know. And that's why this talk show is important, because it gets out to a lot of people, and then it'll be played on Facebook a lot. But, and the comments I got on TikTok, I've got 9,000 comments stating it's happened to them.
Wow.
9,000 other people. So this is not just a random thing. It's factual.
Well, so much for white privilege, huh? Peter?
Yeah. I thought we left this all back in the 70s, or at least by the early 80s.
Thank you, Obama.
I'm looking for my drinking fountain.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Whites only here. Everybody else is allowed over there.
Well, the thing that makes me upset is the fact is, for years I've been advocating to the advertising industry that they're advertising to 14% of the population. And MSNBC, which is, pretty liberal station, did a survey, and I've got it recorded, where they went out and asked how many people shopped online or how many people shopped in brick and mortar stores. And then, they're buying in, what type of things did they buy? At the end of that, they did, what race are you? And 80% of the survey of 18 million people were white, and they asked them what gender they were, heterosexual. 80%. So the remaining 20% was broken down into African American, Asian, Hispanic. So these small percentages is who they're advertising to. You look at every commercial on TV now, it's African American. That's 14% of the population of the United States.
And that's, yes, thank you, Obama. It's interesting because I remember, like it was yesterday, I had the TV on, it was the news, and I walked into my room and I'm looking, and they're showing this young black guy who's running for president, and I've never seen him before. I have no idea who- and so I'm looking at this guy, and immediately what comes to my mind is he is the Armageddon president. He's the president that's going to set up Armageddon because he can create racism and nobody would ever stand against him because he's the first black president. And when he was elected in the second time, I was like, wait a minute, I thought America was waking up to this nonsense. No. And it just, that's where all these things were put into place by. And that now you got to go dig into Obama's background because it ain't what it's supposed to be.
Peter.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the term Manchurian candidate?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
That was Obama.
That was definitely Obama. You look at this guy, he was a plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes beyond that. He was actually raised in the industry. And so that there's rumors that allegedly Hitler was his great grandfather.
Oh God, that doesn't surprise me.
Well, think of the movie Boys from Brazil. You know that they got to tell you what they're doing, right? The Boys from Brazil.
Yeah.
Angela Merkel. You stick her right next to Adolf, and holy moly, it's a female version of Adolf.
Well, you know, and you look at this, you know, we were just about comfortable with racial mixes when Obama got in.
Yeah.
And when he got in, he did everything he could to destroy that relationship.
I agree. And more people are coming to that conclusion that it was Obama that created the great division that we're in. It's Obama that created what we're going through right now with regard to relationships between the citizenry. Go ahead, Peter.
I honestly thought that we were getting close to a racial war with Obama.
We were supposed to be. Hello, you know, it was during we did get George Floyd, and we've had racial wars back and forth all the way since after World War One, at least since Martin Luther King, and before that. But who's it being instigated by, and who's had control? Who has control of the Black Party? Hello, Democrats.
They did.
You know,
I think they're losing it though.
Yeah,
well, I think they've just pretty well gone to the dumpster, because there's a congressman in Florida, Martin Frost, who's African American, and I hate that terminology because that guy is no more African than I am Santa Claus. And that statement alone, why can't we be either Americans or Americans, period?
Yeah.
And why do we, well, there's a good old story about the 13 arrows on the back of a dollar bill held by the eagle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but when the 13 colonies were trying to decide whether they were going to be independent or united, an Indian chief was there at the time, and he went and he goes, let me just give you an example. He pulled one arrow out of his quiver and broke it. Then he took 13 arrows out representing the 13 colonies and tried to break it. He couldn't break it. He said, unified, we are stronger. Divided, we fall. And that's exactly what Obama and all these presidents have done. And when I was running for Congress in 1996, 2 congressmen told me they want division. They want hostility. They want chaos, because the other way, they don't make any campaign contributions. Think about that. If they're not fighting for us, we're not going to contribute to them for the war of whatever they're fighting for, abortion, whatever. It's all about how do we get the populace to give us money? And that's the division that stays in place. If you look at the newspapers, it's all about chaos and catastrophes. And so people want to read it. And we're starting to get smart. Finally, the bulk of the population is starting to go, I don't want to listen to this crap. I'm going to go to a podcast, or I'm going to read something online or hear something online that gives a different direction. That's why Charlie Kirk was so popular. He gave them a different venue to listen to.
The one thing I've noticed with a lot of the podcasts, especially the quote Patriot podcast, and I put quotes around that. There's a lot of I'm not going to say disinformation, but we'll call it propaganda. It's the reverse propaganda that's being disseminated down through a lot of those channels. There is a lot of false information out there. I don't. Boy, if I watched every video that I just read the headlines, there's so much clickbait and so much propaganda in order to get you to either create doubt or to get you to think in a specific political way. We're going to go through some pretty difficult times in the near future, because I think we've hit a transition period. The other way to take down religion. Hello, aliens created us, which interestingly enough is what I wrote. But we got Comet. Three Eye Atlas coming in, which a professor from.
They said it has hostile colors. What the heck does that mean?
Yeah, this is an anomaly that's coming in, and I've looked at and listened to as many reliable people as I can who don't think that this is an alien contact coming in. Avi Loeb, a professor at Harvard University, has proposed that this is an alien craft.
Yeah.
It's like, so
it'll be here pretty soon. We'll find out, huh? Won't be any way around that.
That does away with religion too.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, everybody everybody's trying to destroy everybody's ideas. And the whole point behind it is it's chaos. I have another real good friend that works for Teladoc and does counseling every day. And I swear to God, every hour on the hour, the world's coming to an end. The crisis is going to happen. They're going to take all of our money away from us. And the tax man's going to be on our front doorstep. She gives me this gloom and doom every day. And I said, what website did you get that from? And they go, well, this one website. And I said, what's their membership fee? Oh, it's only $29.95 for the year. And I'm going, are you so oblivious to the fact that, if I tell you I have the answer to save your life and it's only going to cost you $29.95 a year, but I've got all the answers, aren't you going to sign up? Well, and that's what I asked her. And she goes, well, I if it's just one website. I said, well, then another website crops up and says, well, all of his ideas that you just signed up to are not right. And I've got the right answer, and mine's only $19.95. And that's what's going on out there. Wow. It's I've got the answers, but subscribe to me. It's only $19.95.
Jerry, I'm gonna say this, and I say this proudly. I've got all the answers. And as Jesus say, give free, receive free.
Right.
The truth is the best weapon. And I'm going to be 70 years old next year. I never expected this body to get this old. I really didn't. I should have never.
Kid. I'm older than you.
Well, there you go. I never, but here's the interesting thing. I should have never lived to see my 19th birthday. But regardless of all of that, like yourself, I've gone through a very long educated period, and I grew up with the Bible in one hand and a test tube in the other, literally. And I put them both together. Bang! There's the answers. You cannot take religion for anything it says because it cherry picks the truth and then perverts it. You have to go back and look at it scientifically, and when you do, it brings you. You can't prove anything in the Bible without string theory. String theory makes so much sense. It's the hand in the glove. It's perfect. It enlightens us to so much, especially to who we are and how we can control that power within us to make that connection back to the creative source of everything that exists. And that's where we're going to have to wind up heading. It's not doom and gloom. It's doom and gloom for a lot of people who create doom and gloom. But, Jesus himself said, when you see these things start to occur, lift yourselves erect, look toward heaven. Your deliverance is getting near. We are at a time what we are is essentially at a cosmic Alamo point, and Earth is the Alamo.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're going to see, if you read the Bible and you kind of parallel that with Revelations, and, one of the things it says, there will be a lot of catastrophes in the world. And if you look around all over the world, you're seeing volcanoes blowing up, massive floods. I was watching the devastation in China recently with the massive floods over there, killing thousands of people. And with the floods in Kerrville, the natural disasters are elevating. And, that was supposed to be the indication of the end of time. And everybody's wondering, okay, is the end of time coming? Well, but again, we'll never know. We don't know if it's tomorrow or 1,000 years from now.
We do know. We actually do know. We may not know the day and hour, but I can get it pretty much pinpointed. And we're coming up on the 2000th year anniversary. 2,000 years ago, Jesus was walking around on earth. He didn't start his ministry until 29 CE. And so 2029 is going to be the 2000th year anniversary. But more importantly is that 2033 will, Nisan 14, 2033, which is the day that Jesus died. It's typically, it's the first full moon. Usually it's the first full moon after the spring equinox. You got to do some calculations. But anyway, at night, it's a spring. It'll be in the spring since he died 2,000 years ago. That's 2 complete God days. And it's interesting. The Bible's broken down as two God days from Adam to Abraham, two God days from Abraham to Jesus' birth, and now we're at two God days again. And so we're coming at a cosmic consequence. Now, the one thing which a few people are actually talking about, and this has to do with something that I said early on when everybody was talking about Nibiru in 2012 going to be the end of the world. Well, it wasn't, but something happened. We hit the galactic equator in 2012, actually probably closer to 2013. But regardless, we started that journey in 1999. Earthquakes increased over 500%. Earthquakes of a magnitude 5 and above increased over 500%. And they've not slowed down. They've only increased, as you pointed out, Jerry. And Fukushima, that was 17,000 earthquakes around the island of Japan. It wasn't just one earthquake. And we see them going off all the time. We've had earthquake.
I was in Iceland 2 years ago. And
rock and roll.
And I was there, and we took a trip through this town, and I was riding on his tour bus, and the bus is vibrating like horribly. And I'm going, is there something wrong with the bus? Is it breaking down? The guy said, no, I think we're experiencing earthquakes. You might want to check the news tonight. 2,000 earthquakes in one day in Iceland. And 3 days days later, the volcano erupted and wiped out the city that I had driven through 3 days before.
Oh, my goodness.
So if we're looking at this, we're seeing, and Iceland, I the whole time I was there, I kept experiencing earthquakes over and over. And I was, it's a beautiful country. But then to have that volcano erupt and cover the town that I would been in just 3 days before was pretty enlightening. And so if you look at this, what is really happening? There's also a theory that, the 7-day creation of Earth. Well, 1 day in the eye of God is 1,000 years. And theoretically, we are at the 7th day. And the 7th day is when God rested in making the earth. Now, if that's the case, maybe this is the 7th day, his Sabbath, of which he's resting, and the ends
Well, I
Next.
can sure use a rest.
Well,
sure use a rest.
Well, you don't want the kind of rest we're going to get.
Oh.
Well, you're close, Jerry, because we have to have 1,000-year reign of Christ, and this is a spectacular time. Here's a whole nother show. We're really not going to have a whole lot, but I want to give you a future view. This 1,000-year reign of Christ, where the earth is at peace. Think of a peaceful situation for 1,000 years, and then think about. We're not going to grow old through this, but the goal is to bring us back to a point of perfection where we then again would have perfect human DNA, the same DNA that Adam lost. You see, and so now, okay, so what? We're going to have perfect human DNA and not die? Well, worry about that when we get there. But yes, we won't die. Well, what's going to happen to the earth? It'll be overpopulated. And your seed will become as the stars of heaven.
Wow.
It's the next level of creation. That there are hundreds of billions of galaxies out there, each having hundreds of billions of star systems, and approximately 20% of those star systems are within the Goldilocks range. So what are we talking about here? Holy moly, that's what our true potential is. And we get so distracted, and boy, what happened to our perfect human DNA? We got telomeres, that telomere virus. We know that they were spliced on, and now every time our DNA duplicates, we lose
It's a little
telomeres.
less. Yep.
Yep. Take the telomeres off, put the DNA together. You know what you get? An infinity sign.
Wow.
Every time it replicates perfectly because it doesn't fray at the end. It never comes apart.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How simple is that? Yeah, the more you look at it, our DNA vibrates everybody's DNA vibrates at a specific vibration, a specific tone. And so we actually share that tone and harmony around the whole planet. That's the vibration of God within us. And right at the subatomic level, when you get down to the actual string, what's string made out of? Antimatter. And so now we're right back to the actual creation of the Creator. And that's how close we are connected. And so it's taking that connection and using it in a manner to where we can reconnect to the Creator without having the need of religion, but having guidance to bring us to that point. I look at my life very simple. There's Father Yahweh, Yahuwah, Jehovah. There's Jehovah, there's Christ, there's me. Jehovah, Yeshua, and Peter. That's it. Father, sorry, Father, I don't need your confessional.
Yeah. I never believed in that.
I don't need the aspect of being burned in hell forever, because hell came from Hades. The guy, when Greek was the language of the day, so they turned around and said, "Hey, Hades is hot in Greek mythology, even though hell comes from Sheol, which is the common grave." But they went with Hades, so you're going to burn forever. Yeah. Oh, not part of a biblical teaching. Right. Oh, well. What about the rich man and Lazarus? Well, what did the rich man do that was so bad they wound up in this place of torment?
If you look at all the preachings, if there isn't a degree of, this is what's the bad thing that's going to happen to you is this, if you're not good, okay. Yeah. But, and so it keeps everybody in line. And that's the whole premise.
Burn in hell.
Yeah. Your premise of most religions are to keep people in line and also to focus on a higher power. And if the belief is there in the higher power, which I believe in, I think that, if we believe like the atheists do, there's no God, then how in the world could all this creation so incredible of a human being, just if you dissect a human being, You know, somebody once said a long time ago, this is interesting, that man has continued to try and create life all forever. They've been trying all this all the time. The difference is in the Bible, it states that the reason we can't create life is because the components that make up a body are connected by this, I don't know if you want to call it a chemical or whatever it is, but the minute you dissect a body, that glue that holds everything together evaporates, disappears. So we can never find that glue to keep all this together. So we will never be able to create life, even though how much we dissect it and think we've got this part, this part, this part. It's the glue that cements everything together that we can't find. So we will never be able to create life. And so we look at that, and then how incredible is that? Who could have come up with that? What entity? You know, I hear these conspiracy stories. Oh, we're alien experiment.
Yeah.
You know, and
there's a component that holds us all together, and it's called laminin. And if you look up laminin, I guess it's a cell. I'm not sure. I don't really understand, but I read up about it years back. But I remember the reason why I remember it is when you look up the cell. I want to call it a cell. I hope I'm right. But when you look at under a microscope at laminin, it's the shape of a cross.
I just saw that the other day. You're right.
So there you go. And the other thing that we can't do is breathe life into an object. It's interesting. Genesis 2, we have the creation of Adam, where he's created out of the elements of the ground, out of the dust of the ground. And what's the last thing that happens? God himself breathes life into the creation. It was a perfect creation. It wasn't genetically engineered. But here's the interesting thing. When you read the account of Eve, where God says it's not good that the man's alone, I'm going to create a helper. So what happens to Adam? A sleep comes over him. He opens the flesh. He removes a tissue sample. He closes the flesh, and he proceeds to make it a woman from the tissue sample from the rib. And Adam, he brings the woman before Adam, and Adam knows this. Adam says, at last, this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This one was taken from man. I'm going to call you woman. And so Adam knew that she was genetically engineered from him. We have that capability today to genetically engineer life and create chimeras with it. But here, life was genetically engineered, and that does away with your evolutionists. Yeah, it also does away to a certain extent with people who think that the world was created in 7 man days and not even 7 God days. Okay, God created the earth in 6 days. Well, what's he been doing for the last 6,000 years?
I don't understand how people believe in evolution. When you look at the complexity of everything around us, it just out of a bang one day. I joke sometimes. I say, yeah, bang. God said it was going to be, and bang, it was. You know, but in reality,
if you look at this, if evolution is such a thing, like I can't think of his name, Darwin said, then why aren't monkeys still evolving?
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I mean, okay, we should be able to go to the zoo and see a part man, part monkey.
Why don't cockroaches rule the world?
Yeah,
exactly. So and people don't want to admit to that because, again, so has evolution just stopped all of a sudden? When did it just stop?
Well, here's an interesting thing. If you go back to the Cambrian period, and scientists can't explain this. They say, oh, the oxygen levels got up to 23%, and life just spontaneously happened. There was more life created during the Cambrian period than at any other time in Earth's history. Where did all that genetic information come from?
Well, that's
Poof.
Yeah, it would be easier to go to sleep in Central Park in New York City in your little teepee or hut, 500 years ago, living in Manhattan, and waking up and seeing modern day New York around you. It would be easier to explain that than to explain where all the genetic information came from without having genetic engineers.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so-
and that's the problem with the bulk of the people out there. They don't look at the science and the reality. And I always used to ask somebody, I said, okay, you don't believe in God. Where did that table come from? Oh, well, that table came from from a factory. And I said, well, okay, where did the factory come from? And I keep going back. There's an origin to everything. There's an origin to everything.
Where did the seed from the tree come from? Another tree. Well,
yeah, I mean, you have to just keep going back and back and back and back and back and back. And that's what I said. There's an origin to everything. And the microscopic, smallest microscopic item you can find has to have had an origin. Intelligent.
Yeah, and there's also a repeating pattern in nature. It's fractal science. It used to be fractal theory, but it's so accurate that they call it fractal science. And here's a wild thing. From string theory, you go to M theory, which is membrane theory. And one of the mathematical equations in M theory kind of does away with the Big Bang. But it says when two dimensions come together and touch, there's an electrical discharge that happens across the entire dimension. And this electrical discharge from its event horizon to horizon lasts about 1 trillion Earth years.
What?
Okay? Yeah, seriously. So but now it's an electrical discharge that happens when a sperm fertilizes an ovum.
Yeah.
The sperm that crossed the finish line sets off an electrical discharge in that little ovum universe, and a life is born.
You get a spark.
Yeah.
They've actually videoed that. They've shown that. I saw a video. That was amazing.
Yeah. So what happens on a microscopic level?
If you look at a lot of things out there,
universal level.
Okay, hang on. Jerry, hang on a second. Say it again, Peter.
I said what happens on a microscopic level happens on a universal level.
Oh, interesting. Okay, hang on, Peter.
Two extremes.
Hang on, Peter. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, if you look at everything, I mean, you have to just believe there is a higher power that
Amen.
brought us all together. I mean, put us together piece by piece. And for the people that don't believe in God out there, I'll give you a prime example of someone that converted at the last minute. My ex-wife's uncle, I don't know if I've told you this, Rascala, was dying. He was dying of AIDS. He was in a Houston hospital, and my wife's mother kept going in there, who was a strong Christian, and trying to convince him to, accept Christ as his savior. And he wouldn't do it. He just kept saying, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. And then all of a sudden, when he gets moved to his room, he starts freaking out. And he says, you need to cover all the windows, anything shiny, anything reflective, cover it all. I want it all covered. And she said, what's going on? He goes, just do it. Just do it. So after a couple of days, he probably only had a few days left to live. He finally broke down and said, I see demons in the reflection, in the mirrors, and they're coming for me. And I don't know what to do. And she says, maybe it would be time for you to accept Christ and just see what happens. What have you got to lose? And so after a couple of days, she convinced him to accept Christ. And she said the minute he did that, he could see this bright glow from the mirrors and from the windows. And so he goes, do me a favor, take down the covering on the mirror that I see in front of me. So she took down the covering. He goes, oh my gosh, I see this bright white universe or whatever it is, but it's beautiful.
Wow.
He said that all the mirrors and all the reflective items in his room were bright and glowing, and he felt at peace before he died. And 2 days later,
Wow.
he died, and they had him cremated and put him in an urn and set it in a rocking chair while they were getting ready to clear the mantle off. And he loved rocking chairs, and that rocking chair started moving backwards and forwards. So, I mean, kind of freaky
Wow.
there. But the fact of the matter is, that's a true life experience that I had firsthand with my wife, telling me the story of her uncle.
Wow.
So you wonder if what happens to a lot of these atheists and anti-Christ people, anti-God people, at the 12th hour, somebody sitting beside them and go, what do you got to lose? What do you have to lose to accept Christ?
The guy that was a big Satanist, I can't think of his name, but at the time of his passing away, what I read was he said, "Oh, what is this? This is wrong. This is all wrong." And you know, he freaked out basically at the. What,
Anton LaVey?
that's the guy, Anton LaVey. And so at the time of his death, it was not pleasant for him at all.
Yeah, you know, you posted a picture last week of a drawing. I think it was actually, I think the first time I saw that drawing, wasn't that associated with the Catholic school shooting? And the kid that, or the guy that allegedly did that, where he's looking in the mirror and he sees this demonic looking figure looking back at him.
That was Jonathan Cahn describing the shooter, the alleged Charlie Kirk shooter. Or no, you're right. It was about the Minnesota shooting. The alleged shooter for the Minnesota shooting looking in the mirror, and the reflection in the mirror is a demon. And Jonathan Cahn is explaining he's understanding that he is a demon.
Yeah, and I'm glad that's where I first saw that. Thank you for I don't follow Jonathan Cahn religiously, but occasionally he'll put something out that I will listen to. And he is a Messianic Jew, and he's a brilliant person. He knows Hebrew very well.
Yeah.
And it's, while I don't agree with everything that I've heard him say, that there's a lot of things that I do agree with him on because he's accurate in what he's saying. But he portrayed that. But the one thing that he said several months ago, might even be a year ago now, that I heard him talk about this, was that when they ended prayer in school in the 50s, it left a void. Late 50s, early 60s, it left a void. And what came in was Baal, Ashtoreth, and Molech worship. And he was right. Baal worship, everybody had an orgy to Baal, but we got sex, drugs, and rock and roll through the hippie days of the 60s as the revolution went on. We had Ashtoreth worship with the gay community coming out was the start of it. And where it's culminated now is with the transgender movement and people who can identify as whatever they want to identify with. And then we have to indulge that. What are you, crazy? These people are psychopaths. They have no connection with reality, and they're searching for self-identity at a time when they should know well who they are. So, you know, and then you've got Molech worship. Well, when did abortion start? Back in the late 60s, early 70s, we got Roe versus Wade. And so there you have the three principalities which have essentially plagued the nation of Israel through its whole time in being developed. And that's why God wanted the Israelites to wipe out the Canaanites, because the Canaanites worship Baal, Ashtoreth, and Molech.
Wow.
And so here we are. So I have to question, you know, getting back to Charlie Kirk and the turning point here, is this an awakening of, you know, Generation Z to say, hey, we don't want Ashtoreth, Baal, and Molech? Is this an awakening of a nation to get rid of the principalities which have been ruling this country for the last 50 years and say, we don't want this anymore? Is this a time to come to a Christian message, a message that was put out by Yeshua, Jesus, a biblical message, Boy, it certainly seems that way, considering the president, after his assassination attempt, said he was saved by the hands of God, and he feels like he's here. He was called and directed by God on a mission.
Yeah.
Oh, Revelation 17:17 again. They carry out the will of God. Is every thought they carry out. So here we are in a transition period.
Well, we're starting to see
what's coming up.
We're starting. What's happened, I think, in the last few years is the common sense people like me and you and Rascala all have sat back and turned the cheek and said, slap me again. And, as the Bible says, turn the cheek. And we've done that over and over and over again to the point we're at the breaking point.
Yeah.
What's happening, and that's why Trump got elected. He brought God back into the country. He said Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays. Yeah. And he's bringing God back into the presidency. Subsequently, that funnels down to the people that follow him. And America is sick and tired of this perversion out there. They want the good old TV shows like Lassie and the, My Three Sons, and all this stuff that had the wholesome values that we all believed in. Honesty, truth, don't cheat, don't lie, don't steal. And we're getting tired of that. And now they're starting to put the 10 Commandments back in the courthouses again. Little by little, we're starting to see this movement because people are finally fed up with the crap we've been being fed for these years. And we've just looked the other way saying, we don't want to cause any problems. We don't want to stir up anything. We don't want to fight. We don't want to argue. Well, guess what? We are tired of it. And it's like Megyn Kelly said the other day on her show, we are sick and tired, especially after they complained about that Sydney Sweeney ad that came out, blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl raising Cain about that because they didn't have a fat, unattractive, purple-hair woman on a commercial.
So, Jerry, are you familiar with Kim Clement? You know who that is?
No, I don't.
He's a prophet. He passed away a while back, but he prophesied that Trump would be president 2 terms. This was back in 2013, I think it was. And a lot of the prophecies that he has prophesied have come to pass. I don't remember. Peter, did I ask you, are you familiar with Kim Clement?
Yep, we talked about this, I have to agree with what he was saying.
Okay, so I'm going to play a short video. And this falls right into what we were talking about.
God says, listen to me. As the beginning of the restoration, as it begins, there shall be a woman that shall rise up. A woman that shall be strong in faith, virtuous, beautiful in eyes, and her eyes shall be so beautiful. Her eyes shall be round and big. I have crowned her, says the Lord, as I crowned Esther. And the people shall receive her, for she shall have the oil of gladness for the pain and the mourning that has taken place. And she shall pour out the oil. Is there some oil here, please, Marty? Is there some oil? She shall pour out the oil on this nation. And God says healing shall begin, and then it shall flow rapidly. Schools will be free from potential damage and danger, shootings and murder, drug addiction. Cartels shall be afraid of a woman. A woman anointed by God. A woman set aside. And God says they will say we hated her, but now we love her. For she shall take the oil of healing and she shall pour it upon the scars of those left and those right, and of the new party that has come forth and emerged, where they shall say Christ will reign, and this we shall not implement at all socialism. Where where they have said, we will make history without God. No, you will not. No, you will not, says the Lord. For I chose this nation before it was founded. Before anybody came here, I chose this entire nation, all 50 states, every one of them, to send my gospel to the entire earth. Do you think I have changed my mind? Therefore, the healing that is necessary for this nation shall come at a time in the middle of the presidency. There shall be a woman that shall come. And God said there shall be oil that shall be poured upon the nation. And they shall suddenly feel the healing. And they shall say, it is well with my soul. It is well with our soul. For the soul of America has been corrupted. The soul of this nation has been corrupted with bitterness and anger. And God said she shall say, no more bitterness, no more anger, no more division, and shall pour the oil that shall come from the Spirit of the Lord himself. If you as a nation believe it, if you want this, lift your voice and shout one more time and say, yes! Yes to Esther! Yes to Esther! Yes to Esther! Yes to Esther! Father, we are warriors. Hold the D on the cello for me. Or just hold a note on the cello for me. Lord, we as a nation, we take it seriously when you speak. This represents oil that shall heal this nation in just a very short period of a few years. Lord, this is not something futuristic so far away that we cannot see it as possible. I want you to listen to me. I only do what I feel the Spirit wants me to do when it comes to this. Most of us need this oil. It comes from the heart of God and from the hand of the Lord.
Here's something interesting about Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, who the other day when she stood up and spoke and addressed the nation, that is when this prophecy started going viral all over the internet. I've never seen so many people do reaction videos and share it and contact me, everybody, the Esther. And I watched it. Here's what's interesting. Erica Kirk was crowned Miss Arizona in 2012, a year after he prophesied that. He was crowned Miss Arizona. So now we've got crowned Esther. Strong in faith, virtuous. She has a Juris Master's degree in Christian leadership. That, to me, covers the strong in faith, virtuous. She does have beautiful big eyes. You know, I came in here prepared for certain things, but I didn't have everything laid out this way. And it is really, I don't know if it's blowing my mind. It must be blowing a lot of you watching.
Crazy.
As I recall, I think it was actually before you played that, I think I made the comment last week's show, could she be the first woman president of the United States?
Yeah.
You know, so, and then you played me. You said, have you heard of Clement? Clement. I said, yeah, but I never heard that. You know, he's not somebody that I've really listened to, but I've heard of different, I've heard him.
So, Glenn Beck, this is a short video. Listen to this.
How are you doing? How's everybody at Turning Point doing?
Well, after you made everybody bawl their eyes out in your first segment, your open, Glenn, and I mean, I have to say thank you for that. I can't even believe I'm seated so close to Rush's golden EIB microphone.
I know, it's crazy.
And Charlie and I can't say how many times we said the golden EIB microphone.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. We were all crying out in the control room, and so I am right now in this moment very emotional. And I know that you watched his story grow and that tribute about the next George Washington and how Charlie was so aware of that speech you gave, and he wasn't there in person, but he watched it somewhere else live. And I'm right now I don't have many words because of how moving that was, Glenn.
I said the other day, and I don't mean this, I mean, I'm not saying this to self-aggrandize at all, but I looked at him almost like a professional son. You know what I mean? I looked at him, and because I watched him from a distance, and I saw him young, and I saw his desires and how he built and everything that he did. And as I was thinking about that, as I packed that microphone up yesterday, I was thinking about him, and I thought, Charlie would have been president.
Yeah.
Right there. Charlie would have been president. So since Charlie's not around, the next, next best thing would be Erica. And she has made a vow to not allow whoever did what they did to stifle or to stop the work that Charlie did. I'm getting kind of low on time. I want to play this last video for you guys because I think this is a good public service announcement. And not only that, this is really scary. If the information that's coming out is accurate, what I'm about to show you is quite scary.
There's a report going around, and it has everybody somewhat nervous, and I wanted to put it out so this way you would be informed. It's from Laura Loomer. She's a journalist. She's sort of a little out there once in a while, but she has incredible ties into the White House, and it's not too often that she's wrong. With that said, she put out a massive warning last night, and it's one that I believe in because of the work that I've done for the past 20 years and because of all the ties she has to the White House, that there are cells right now, Islamic terrorist cells in the United States, and that they are plotting to pull off a massive nationwide terror attack, especially in some of the bigger cities. Now, what the word is that these terrorists have ordered an incredible amount of first responders' uniforms to make themselves look like police officers, firemen, paramedics, nurses, doctors, etc. And apparently, this entire scheme is two form. Form number one is attack, and form number two is attack at these hospitals and emergency centers, so this way they will not be able to respond and help those who are wounded and those who are hurt. This would basically disable our emergency systems as we know them. So basically what's happening is they're going to blend in with society. They're going to blend in, and you won't know if somebody is a foe or if somebody is a firefighter or a doctor or a nurse or a police officer or a paramedic. This is a very dangerous thing. And the reason why this is happening, to be quite honest, I know a lot of people will point back to Biden's open borders. And there's no doubt Biden's open borders has created havoc in this country, havoc that we haven't seen yet. Now, Biden's not the only person who had open borders. Trump had a lot of people come in. Obama had a lot of people come in. We've had these people in our country for a very long time. But it's so much greater than just what happened at the border. We have been taking in over 1.2 million people on average every single year, dating all the way back to 1991. Understand that. So we've allowed these people to hide in plain daylight. We invited them in. This year alone, as much as I love Trump and voted for him 3 times, he hasn't limited the legal immigration into this country by significant numbers. We're still going to take in well over 1 million people this year, 45 to 50,000 of them being from Middle Eastern countries where Muslims are running wild. That's where they come from. So fundamentally, we are creating a situation where we are putting ourselves in harm's way. Now, police, especially in New York, used to use a very effective tool called racial profiling. Obviously, somebody who looks like me isn't going to be dressing up as a pretend nurse or a paramedic to try to bring terror across the country. So I think we have to all be vigilant. I think we all have to be looking very closely at everything and everybody. And the United States has to be awake 24/7, 365. We've created this problem for ourselves, and it's too late to plug the hole. They're already here. And so now the only thing we can do is be vigilant, be alert, and understand that although some people may feel it's inconvenient that they get profiled, at the end of the day, that's part of staying safe in America. If we ignore that, then we all do so at risk of our own peril. I hope you'll share this video. It's not meant to scare you. It's meant to alert you and to keep you awake. And if you haven't liked my page yet and follow me, please do if you like videos like this and want more of them to come. God bless America. God bless you and your family. Have a great day.
All right. So if what is the information that he's giving out is accurate, these people start dressing like cops. I think of the it was a representative, a senator or a congressman or something like that. Him and his wife. He comes to the door and there's a cop car out in the driveway. He comes to the door and there's a cop. What he believes.
Oh, that was two senators from. That was two senators from Michigan, or Wisconsin. I think it was Wisconsin, where the Waltz is the governor.
Yeah. Well, so my point being is that somebody's already pulled a stunt like that off and killed two people. Can you imagine if an organized group gets together and starts dressing like firemen or police officers or doctors or something of that nature, and you're expecting to trust these people and they whip out a gun and start blowing people away right, left, and center? Wow.
And that's a possibility it could happen because it did happen. And the reality of it is, you know why those two people were shot? They voted against the Democratic choice on transgenders.
Really?
Yes, that was the whole reason they were assassinated. I knew that right off the bat when they were shot, because Democratic people getting shot doesn't happen. Wow. They voted with the Republicans against a bill in Wisconsin, in Minnesota or Wisconsin, wherever it was, and that's why they were shot.
Wow.
Because they voted with the Republicans. So here it is again, attacks against anything the Republicans put out there. It means death.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there's a reason I live where I do. I knew this day was coming. And, get out of harm's way. But if you can't get out of harm's way, just be careful, be careful, be careful. And if you see something, I hate to say it, but if you see something, say something. We live at a time where the more concentrated the population, the
greater the numbers. Yeah. Higher. Yep.
Yeah. So, stay away from, if you're really concerned, stay away from high populated areas and ball games and sporting events and things like that. Even
that's what they're looking for. Yep.
Yeah. Even county fairs that are going on, just keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah.
But I would expect this to probably start next month, maybe going into
November.
That's
what I'm hearing. Yeah, I'm hearing next month. Start expecting a lot of fun towards the end of this month and next month going into it. All right, buddy. Well, I'm running rapidly out of time. Peter, I'll give you a moment to say goodnight to everybody. Last words.
Absolutely. Love and blessings to all. Hey, we've got a new show coming up, as I said, on the 23rd, and we'll be on a couple of times between now and then. I believe Maggie and I will be back next weekend to continue this conversation, if that's okay with Riscala.
Yeah, well, we're working in.
Yep. So, and hey, keep safe, keep in prayer, and keep your blessings coming. Stay focused on positive things, and positive things will start entering your life.
Amen.
We have to make that connection back to source. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight, everybody. Love and blessings to all. Have a fantastic week.
Good night, Peter. Thank you, buddy. All right, Jay, we'll give you a moment to say goodnight to everybody.
Well, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. Hopefully we had some interesting talks. We'll have more later on. Riscala's show is always entertaining every Saturday night. So don't forget to attend. Take care, everybody, and have a good evening. God bless everybody.
Thank you, Jerry. Greatly appreciate it. Please remember to like and subscribe if you would, please. We'll be back in a week, God willing, and the creek don't rise. Here we go.
You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.